Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the DTM ESPORTS 2022. Well, we're going to find out who is going to be the next driver to join drivers such as Tim Heinemann, champion from the inaugural DTM Trophy season. Ben Green, who came, was racing before. He did some race room action, of course, but then came and did the Race at Home Challenge last year. We had Will Tregertha as well. And then Moritz Lerner, last season's champion, who indeed came through this to get his drive in the DTM Trophy. My name's Luke Crane. I am joined by Connery Maddock. How are you doing, my friend? This is going to be amazing.
Yep, I'm feeling absolutely fantastic. It's been a little bit of a while since me and you have done one of these together, so I'm certainly looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to see which drivers we'll actually see compete in that main season of this year's DTM ESPORTS Championship. There are 2 shootouts to come here, Luke, but we've got more information on that a little bit later on.
Absolutely. Well, Moritz Lerner, who indeed is now a driver in the DTM Trophy, he is back to defend his crown. There's a lot of usual names as well, Connery, that we saw from last year, but there's lots of new names as well. This is a huge opportunity for these drivers.
Yep, Race Room Esports has really sort of kept up its quite significant growth, of course, through the current world situation. A lot of drivers turning to sim racing, even real life drivers as well, try to brush up on their skills and also establish, these standalone competitions here in sim racing as well, where we can see that sort of talent develop and potentially do a Moritz Lerner or some other drivers that have been able to go from sim racing into real life racing as well.
Absolutely. Well, that's the prize. 5 drivers through this championship will indeed end up being the recipients of a sighting experience during the 2022 season. And then one of those drivers will be picked and they will get a full expenses paid championship drive in the DTM Trophy 2023. An incredible opportunity, and this is just the beginning. Me and Connery were doing our rehearsals earlier, and we saw some of last year's racing action, and we're now able to take you back there with this amazing video, and boy, it was incredible. Will he pin the apex? No, he's overshot it. Lerner will take the lead, and Lerner's waiting for the last second. Keighley's going to get second. Keighley's going to get second. What a finish here, Connery. No, Timo Glock. So Timo Glock right now is earning... Oh, no, contact there. That's not good at all. Yeah, Nuninghoff and Pinches. Nuninghoff is back up into the lead here. Well, hold on, what's going on? Yarshall's made a mistake here. So Yarshall dropping down. Yarshall's now P10. Oh, no, there you go. Ivanov. Nuninghoff has gone here. Adam Pinches has also gone here. Oh, he's on the circle. Oh, big smash there. Big crash. The long run down towards Blanchimont. He's up the inside line, getting squeezed onto the apex then by Nuninghoff. Zijowski trying to get involved here as well. Nuninghoff late on the brakes here. Will he pin the apex? No, he's overshot it. Lerner will take the lead, and Lerner's waiting for the last second. Keighley's going to get second. Keighley's going to get second. What a finish here, Connery. Moritz Lerner takes the victory. Keighley second. Uses the curb to rotate the car. Contact once again between the two, but I think Jimmer might have the run here. Not quite. Oh. So Kelvin's just going to lose that to Nuninghoff. And as you can see, Nuninghoff has waited and waited and waited. He's closed up here ever so gradually, underneath the rear wing. Runs out wide then through turn number 1. And wow, he's going to go for the switchback here. Keighley runs out wide. He will now automatically have the inside line for the next 2 corners. You can see him fighting with the oversteer of the car there, using the curb to rotate the car as well. Turn 12, lap number 2. So maybe he did have contact between the two, and he's using the pit lane here for Ivanov. Ivanov trying to make the move up the inside to turn 1.
Fight with Bandit here. Bandit with the up and under coming through Lecombe. Oh, Ivanov got crossed up.
Genuine push to pass. That might be called there. A little bit of a love tap. And, well, he couldn't get the move done initially. Down towards turn 1, though, he has. Jimmy Broadbent around the outside. Oh, battle. Timo Glock there running out wide. You can see Kelvin van der Linde's looking on here, thinking, oh, a couple of positions potentially here. Romanidis then looking for a late lunge up the inside. Kelvin van der Linde then just about holding onto the car. He's in behind Timo Glock. And Romanidis is up the inside, so Romanidis is indeed going to momentarily get the position. And Kelvin's then in P2, he's got the inside line then through the second part of the chicane, and well, very aggressively there, puts Jack Keighley almost off the circuit, and this will be for the lead of the pro ring.
Couple of errors. Oh, yeah, well, I've jinxed it.
then try to find a move here as well. Round the outside for Yoyoski. Yoyoski did not qualify in race number 1, but now he loses out here for second spot. And Lerner will take the checkered flag here at Spielberg. What a finish here, Connery. And you can see it there, the relief. He knows that he is the DTM Esports 2020 champion.
What an incredible season it was. I cannot believe it was 2020. Just going through some of those highlights, the memories just come flooding back. And Connery, what were a couple of your highlights personally from that championship season?
It's got to be the end to that Spa race, right? With Moritz Lerner just sending it into the bus stop, getting those overtakes done. And you know, it has one of those moves where that is really the making of a champion, and he did come out in the end as the champion at the end of that season, and hopefully we get to see more exemplary moments like that over the course of this season, because the level has stepped up here on Race Room Esports. You know, it's not the same as it was, say, 2 years ago. There are so many new names that are looking to try and make their mark on a championship such as this one.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. It was the mark of a champion. Spa, if you can go 1v1 in those cars that we were using, of course, the DTM 2020 cars, of course, with the DRS, you can save a bit of push to pass to the last second. You know, being in second position around a track like Spa is a huge opportunity. But 4 cars, you got 3 other cars to beat effectively. It was the most difficult situation to be in. But obviously, Moritz Lerner came out on top and took that crown. And, well, he's gone on to do some incredible things, hasn't he? You know, making it to DTM Trophy. He got a test, and then he had the first weekend all paid for him at Monza last season. Did exceptionally well, got himself a top 10. And then he was kind of in limbo, but then Media Markt stepped in and gave him a full drive this season. And he's been incredible. It's been phenomenal to see him indeed take to the real world of racing. He's been a huge fan of DTM as well, so to be in that family, and he's just settled really, really nicely. And we've now got the same opportunity here for another driver, Connery.
Yeah, and you know, usually if you're not too into the esports side of things, you go, oh, these guys are just driving a game. There's no way that they'll be any good in driving the real car. But just look at what Moritz did. Just look at what Lauren Heinrich does, for example, as well. You know, these guys that come from sim racing can really, really mix it in with the best in the real world. And obviously, DTM have realized this by making the prizeless competition the chance to get yourself stuck into the real life DTM series. And you know, for some of these drivers, that's a dream to become a racing driver. And for some of them, of course, you know, there might not always be the financial support to be able to go through the ranks, so to speak, through karting, through some of the more minor championships, to be able to get to where you want to be. But this is just another route now where, for those that don't have that sort of support, they can still show their talents and still potentially get themselves up into the big leagues.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of series have now got their little esports venture, you know, something that they can kind of use as a marketing tool. This is real, you know, big time for DTM. It's one of the 5 pillars of DTM moving forward. So this is not just some marketing tool. It is, you know, a massive part of DTM moving forward. And again, a huge opportunity. Let's have a little look then at our championship format for this season. And again, we've got qualifying 1 today. In a couple of weeks' time, we've got qualifying 2 before we then hit the final stages, which is 6 rounds. We head to Imola on the 24th of February, the Norris Ring on the 10th of March. Then on the 24th of March, we go to the Lausitz Ring. We then head to Spa-Francorchamps on the 7th of April. Then we go to the Red Bull Ring on the 21st of April. And then we head to Portimao on the 28th of April. Today's format, though, is indeed going to be a 10-minute qualifying for each race and then a 30-minute race. You can see there on your screen that we've got Heat 1, Heat 2, and a bonus race. So, Heat 1, 28 drivers. Top 5 from the race will qualify through to our 6 races. The 6 championship races, they are automatically through. They are good. They're golden. They've booked their ticket. Then we have Heat 2, which is another 28 drivers. Top 5 from that Heat 2 will indeed also advance to our main championship. Then there's bonus race, the last chance qualifier of the day. Another 30-minute race, but it is indeed going to be 6th position down to 19th from Heat 1 and Heat 2 to make up our grid. And the top 4 from that will also advance to the next stages of the competition. How exciting is that, Connery?
Yeah, absolutely incredible. It's not just one chance and you're done here, that you get multiple chances to be able to qualify yourselves in. Of course, this is just the first shootout as well. We have a second shootout in a couple of weeks' time where we'll do this all over again and find another good couple of drivers to join us for the DTM esports season. But I gotta say, the fight for the top 5 in the first 2 heats here are going to be absolutely crazy. Everything is on the line for those guys. Yes, like I said, they might have a chance in the bonus race, but if you can get yourself inside the top 5 in one of those heats, then, well, I guess it's a little bit less stress.
Yeah, 100%. You know, if you can get through first race done, you know, you've got a couple of weeks now, or, you know, a month effectively to chill out, you know, take a look at your competition over the next couple of weeks, then move on and get yourself ready for what really is going to count. But you've got to book that ticket first and foremost. And well, let's check out then the top 10 seeds for race number 1. So this is the top 10 paced drivers that are going to be in race number 1. And as you can see there, Jack Keithley, who I was calling, oh, Jack Keithley second, Jack Keithley second. Well, he's first here today. He has got a 1:54.33 to qualify for this stage. Florian Hasse then, Leonard Krippner, Max Pfeiffer, Pajic, Lerner are your next 5 drivers, all German drivers. Again, in a different set of cars there. We've got AMGs, we've got McLarens represented, we've got Porsche represented as well. And then we've got 3 Audi drivers, Adam Pinches, who from Hungary. There's always a Hungarian. It just doesn't matter what sim racing competition it is, there is always a Hungarian. And on Race Room, it's normally Adam Pinches. Alexander Dorniden, we haven't seen him since the last championship, but again, a phenomenal driver. We've then got Gianmarco Fiducci, and then we've got Luciano Whitfoot driving then in the AMG as well. And well, we can actually go and take a look now at how they're doing in practice. We've got a few minutes left before we do indeed head into qualifying. 10 minutes of qualifying, and then we head into a 30-minute race. And well, Connery, what steps out for you here? Anyone there that you're thinking, wow, they weren't particularly quick in qualifying for this event, but they come into the practice here, they are looking sharp?
Well, first one that really stands out to me in, well, at least in the terms of the practice running right now, is the fact that Gianmarco Fiducci's got himself up into 6th place. He, of course, in the leaderboard, he qualified in 9th place. So that's a little bit of an improvement there for Fiducci. Of course, we've got a couple other movers as well. Pfeiffer actually sliding down the order, at least in practice, compared to his leaderboard times here at the moment. That's not too big of a concern as long as you're within range of that top 5. Especially coming out of qualifying, you'd be sitting pretty good. But any further off that top 5 than, say, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, then you're starting to worry a little bit about those top qualification spots.
Yeah, 100%. And also, we saw this last time out, I say a couple of years ago, it's just over a year ago now, with the DTM eSports 2020, that in practice, there are a few drivers, such as the likes of Keithley, Lerner, they're not going to be giving absolutely everything in practice. They want to try and hide a little bit of performance going into qualifying, so expect them to be a couple of tenths faster. But the impressive thing for me is, and I guess slipstreaming is a bit of a factor, of course, here, but Krippner's got a quicker time than what the qualifying time was. So 0.3 of a second slower was Jack Keithley in terms of the qualifying phase. And, you know, some of these drivers would have put in hundreds, maybe thousands of laps to get to this stage. But yeah, Leonard Krippner looks like he's the driver to beat as it stands.
That certainly seems to be the case as far as we're concerned. Like I said, a 10th of a second ahead of Marco Pajic at the moment. That is a pretty impressive gap in practice. But of course, it can all change during the race here. It usually does as well, at least from other Race Room esports competitions that I have commentated on. The practice times, of course, it can give you a good baseline as to how each driver is performing on any given day. But when push comes to shove, those qualifying laps are the important ones. Practice is just that. So we're soon going to get ourselves transitioned over into that qualifying session here, Luke, and well, we'll get to see at least the pre-show of the DTM eSports 2022 season underway.
Oh, Connery, I forgot how much sense you make. There's me that just talks absolute bananas for the next couple of hours, and then we've got you that just settles things down, makes a bit of sense, talks facts, really. So yeah, you've got to put up with the both of us here. If you like facts, you got Connery. If you like someone just making stuff up as they go along, well, you got me. To anyone who's just joined, I'm seeing a couple of people in the chat sort of figuring out what's going down. This is race number 1. We've got 2 heats today, 28 drivers in both heats. The top 5 from this race right now, this is qualifying 1. The top 5 in this race is 30 minutes long, will indeed advance to our main championship, which will be happening next month. 6 rounds there will be. And then we've got heat number 2. The top 5 from that race will also advance to our main championship. And then there is a last chance qualifier race today. So drivers who finish between 6th and 19th in both heats today, they will be the grid for race number 3. And the top 4 from that will advance as well. So we're going to get 14 drivers today advancing to our main championship. Oh boy, I'm super excited for this. As you can see, everybody is out there as early as they possibly can. They want as much time as possible. And once it gets to 0 in the clock on qualifying, that is qualifying over, Connery, isn't it? So they have to get their lap time in very quickly indeed.
There is a little tiny bit of wiggle room with it here in iRacing sometimes, but otherwise, yeah, you're absolutely right. So it's not always you're able to start the final lap with 1 second left remaining and be able to complete it. Sometimes there's a little bit of wiggle room with it, but yeah, absolutely. So we see these drivers on their out laps here right now. We're currently watching Jack Keithley, of course, the top qualifier from coming out of the whole leaderboard situation that we had coming into this one. Of course, he's, again, a big player with regards to Race Room Esports. When no matter what competition there is on Race Room, Jack Keithley's probably in it to win it. And, well, definitely the case here today with that leaderboard performance. But that, of course, was under a time attack sort of situation where it's just the driver versus the track. This open qualifying is a completely, well, different concept to that, where you have to deal with everyone around you. You have to deal with cars potentially getting in your way, but you also got to get yourself in a position where you can potentially get yourself a slipstream off of the cars ahead.
100%. Well, let's have a little onboard here then of Jack Keithley and take you on a lap here of the Nürburgring GP. The long run then down in towards turn number 1, using a lot of curb there to open up the corner. And again, there's a little bit of a bottom out there through the middle part of the corner. Again, try and get on the power as early as you can. But if you pin it too hard, you'll lose the rear of the car because the wheels for half of the corner aren't even touching the tarmac. Through then turn number 2, down towards turn number 3, you'll see that they'll put their left wheels just on the inside of the curb there. That helps with the rotation of the car, but it also helps open up this right-hander. You can use a lot of the off-track there on the exit as we head then down in towards turn number 5. It's one of those where you can brake a lot later than you would anticipate as we come then down towards turn number 6. You see it not really able to open, not trying to open up the corner as much. That's because it's a cambered corner. You can use the corner, mid-corner, to turn the car itself effectively. Down then in towards turn number 7, the hairpin here, and it's all really about a decent entry and then managing to get on that power as early as you possibly can on the exit. Run off there onto the AstroTurf, and now we come up towards one of the most famous drivers' corners of all time, the Schumacher S's, grabbing as much curb as you possibly dare there, trying to keep that throttle pinned as well. And then we head up to a left-right complex, which again is all about maintaining that speed through the mid-corners, especially this right-hander here. The track just falls away from you here as well, so if you get the power too early, it's very easy to run off onto the gravel there, and your lap is indeed completely invalidated during the race. You know, you're going to lose a few positions, but you have to get on the power early because there's a long run now towards that final chicane. Uphill braking here, so you can brake a little bit later than you would probably anticipate as well. You're going to see a lot of people taking opportunities to make an overtake there as well. Use those sausage curbs to help rotate the car, using as much curb on the exit as you possibly can, and then opening up the final corner, the Coca-Cola curve, trying to get to close to that wall as possible without high-fiving it, without taking the right wing mirror off, and across the line we go. This is going to be a good time. It looked brilliant, actually. It was 3 purple sectors. Jack Keithley then was pole, but it's not pole anymore. Wow, what a time that is from Fiducci. P1, the Italian, takes a 154.239. We've seen a 54 flat, so we're expecting it to be a little bit faster during this session, but that is an incredible time of Krippner now in second.
Yeah, great job from the Italian to be able to get to the top of the order. I'm quite glad, Luke, like I highlighted him when we were talking about the practice there. I think he's proving me right at the moment, so thank you very much, Gianmarco, for that one. But yeah, he set the early pace here. Good, of course, to get yourself a good banker lap in at the very start of qualifying here. Gives you something to build off of later on in the session. You do not want to have the situation where you've only got a couple of minutes left in qualifying to go, and you still have not yet set a valid lap, as we see Kirill Antonov, I believe that was. Well, he went off track slightly. That will give him, well, that would invalidate his lap. Same with Pinces. He's off the circuit at the Mercedes-Benz Arena as well. So, yeah, if you... there's multiple ways you can invalidate your lap here in Race Room. One's the track limits, others bits of contact and things like that. And that will just completely delete your lap time, and you have to go back out there again. So drivers that have not set a lap time just yet: Marco Pejic, Alexander Dorneden, Alex Moisen, Sebastian Rie. We've got Joyce Walker. Moritz Lohner has not set a qualifying time just yet. So last time's champion not able to get onto the board just yet. Max Pfeiffer and Florian Hasse also have yet to set themselves lap times here, Luke. So not too great for some pretty big names.
Yeah, when you've got 4 minutes left, effectively, you cross the line now, you've got 2 laps. So the pressure really is on. You've got to get that banker time in as early as you possibly can. It is a 30-minute race, though, Connery, so it's not the end of the world. If you qualify, well, for someone like Lerner, you want to be at least in the top sort of 6, 7, 8 maybe. You can make moves, on race room. It is very much promoted to race side by side within this sim as well, so yeah, it's not going to be the end of the world. But if you're P 28, you're in trouble, really, aren't you, to get that top 5? Again, Lerner not quite put his time in, but Marco Pejic, we're talking about him not having a time. Well, up into P2, then we know how good this driver can be. We've seen him racing in the Race from Home Challenge. We've also seen him race on multiple competitions within the race room sphere, and well, P2 in our first qualifying day, race number 1.
Yeah. Great job so far. And well, in terms of the manufacturers, well, it's not one that's completely dominating. It's more like 2 that are completely dominating at the moment. Of course, Audi and Mercedes. It's currently an Audi that leads as far as Feduzzi is concerned, followed by those 2 Mercedes. But we got a decent mix here. Kirill Antonov actually in a McLaren, getting himself stuck in and amongst the Audis and the Mercedes there towards the top of the order. He currently resides in P7 right now, does the Russian driver. We're looking at Jan Stanger at the moment, continuing to try and work his way around in his Audi. He's about 0.7 of a second off of Feduzzi's time at the moment, but that time in the session is starting to get a little bit low at this stage.
Florian Hasse, yeah, he has been around the race room esports scene for year after year, many, many years, and now puts it up to P4. Top 3, though, separated by 0.04 of a second. Florian Hasse has actually got a little bit of a slipstream there to have worked with down towards turn number 1, but it can have the adverse effect, which I think we've just seen there. It's great getting that slipstream down a straight line, but as soon as you go through a corner in that jet-washed air, Connery, you can get in trouble, and we just saw, the complete loss of downforce in the car, and then you get squirrely and you lose a lot of time.
Yeah, these open qualifying sessions are really an art to master. You don't want to be too close to some slower traffic so that you get held up through the corners, but you don't want to be too far away so you're not getting the slipstream down the straights. And it's a very tricky balance to try to strike. But with, I think, the vast majority of these drivers, they are the top of the top when it comes to race room esports. We'll see the same coming into heat number 2 as well. So we won't see too many drivers that are absolutely miles off the pace, but sometimes someone slowing you up a couple of tenths of a second through a section is going to really, really matter at the end of the day. Moritz Lohner, well, he's not setting purple times, but he's still setting sectors nonetheless. And, well, maybe this will just have to be a bit of a banker lap at the end here for Moritz Lohner, as I don't think he'll have time to get himself all the way back around to set another, as he'll head his way out of the final corner now.
Yeah, this might be good. This might be good enough for a top 8, I think it's going to be. Across the line we will go then for Moritz Lohner. And, well, it's exactly that. Top 8 then for Moritz Lohner. Again, you want to be a little bit higher than that, of course. You can't really pick your position. You've got to qualify. He's not quite at the races here today, our champion from, well, just over a year ago. But I'm sure that Moritz Lohner, again, is much more... He's a phenomenal qualifier, but he knows that to get the job done, it's got to be done in the race effectively. He just wants to hope that the front drivers just keep battling for position. And looking at the times here, Connery, 0.04 of a second between P1 and P3. I'm expecting them to be side by side quite often in the first couple of laps, which does open up opportunities for drivers in behind to maybe close up that gap and find themselves involved in that battle.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting race because the actual race win doesn't really matter all that much. It's just trying to secure yourself in that top 5 to get yourself your slot in the main season. So I don't know how much you would want to fight if you're inside the top 3 here.
No, that's true. But again, that... It's not really about them in this situation. It's about the drivers behind. They'll be wanting that to happen. So, yeah, it's a really, really strange situation to be in for these drivers, because when you're normally racing, you're either racing for a top 10 to get points or, whatever championship you're in, maybe top 20. But you're also then fighting for a podium to get a trophy. But here it's top 5. Top 5, P5 is worth exactly the same as P1. There's no difference between it. You don't get any extra head start or anything like that. You just get your ticket to the next phase. So expect to see P1, P2, P3 be relatively reserved, not take too many chances, but expect the battles between 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, that kind of area to be incredible. But then it's very much the same again from sort of 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, because if you get into the top 19, you then get one more chance to get into that top 4. So a driver potentially could get cleaned out into turn number 1. You know, we know that it's capable of happening, Connery. It's sim racing at the end of the day. It's motor racing at the end of the day. If you do indeed have that mistake into turn number 1, puts you at the back of the grid, you've got that objective. You've got to try and get into that last chance qualifier.
Yep, you really do. And, I'm just having a look at those drivers sort of, quote-unquote, on the bubble, to use a very American term, I suppose, with their oval racing there, as far as their quote-unquote chase formats are concerned. But, 5th place in qualifying is Florian Hasse. Then you have Alexander Dorneden. You have Max Pfeiffer and Moritz Lohner with Jan Stanger. Those are a good handful of drivers that are incredibly, incredibly quick. May not have had the best of qualifyings here today, especially if you're Moritz Lohner in this sort of situation. A battle between that group of drivers for that final qualification spot, Luke. This is going to be absolutely crazy, and this track does overtaking a little bit more than some other circuits as well.
Yeah, when you have time trial qualifying in Race Room, normally you get thousands of people take part. So to be the top 56, percentage-wise, you're in the top 1% at the very minimum. So this is super, super exciting to see. There's going to be absolutely no mugs in this as well. And we're watching the YouTube chat here, ladies and gentlemen, so I want to throw it out to you right now. We've got 3 minutes or 2.5 minutes until we get going. Who are you supporting? Where are you watching from? Who's going to win this race today? And maybe you want to mention your top 5. But for me, Connery, anybody within reason. You know, I'd even say someone that could be P16 potentially could get themselves up into a top 5 here. It's so close. You've got to expect there to be a few incidents along the way. If there isn't, I'll be very surprised. But ultimately, just keep yourself in a position to take advantage of anybody that makes mistakes. If you're at the front end, you've got to grab it with both hands and make something happen yourself. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be tight. It's going to be close. And, well, we get to commentate on it. What a time to be alive. It's
a big treat. And also, lap 1, Luke, it's turn 1 at the Nürburgring. So there's going to be some sort of shenanigans heading down into the hairpin for the first time. There usually is here at the GP layer of the Nürburgring, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see 1 or 2 cars spun around in the runoff out of turn number 1. Hopefully, everything's pretty neat and tidy coming through there. I know these drivers are capable, but then again, if you're 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, you want to be going forward as fast as possible.
Yeah, 100%. And it's the choke point. It's the choke point we're actually looking here with Joyce Blocker, so you'll see it here. It's so open going in towards turn number 1, but there's only one quick line through there, and it is clipping the apex. And then it opens up again on the outside. If you get hung out to dry through turn number 1, you are not recovering that position if someone's up your inside. It's as simple as that. So it really is a brilliant corner in the fact that there are multiple lines into it. There's only one line through it, and there's multiple lines on the exit. So, yeah, expect there to be absolute fireworks through there. I'd be very surprised, like you said, Connery, if something doesn't go down there. It might be like the end scene from Endgame through there on race number 1. Who knows?
Unfortunately, we don't have the music to go with that. I don't think DTM have licensed that, so that'll just a bit of the ambience will be missing from that situation there. But the action should be suitably epic, regardless. Here in this one, we've got about 35 seconds left of this little warm-up session before we get the gridding procedure underway for our, well, what is technically our first race of the season, even though it's not the actual regular season. This is just the qualification process. These are the shootouts to get yourself into that main season to compete for that prize in a good couple of months' time. Is going to be the last race of that season. So still a long way to go in this one, and for some of these drivers, well, today might even be the end of the road.
Yeah, for sure. But they then have qualifying day 2 to also contend with and qualify for. So it's not, it's at the end of the road for day 1, but day 2, who knows? A few shout-outs then just before we begin. We've got Omkar Sapute, who's watching from India. Hello, mate. We've got Sergey Mukimov, welcome. Leslie Florent as well, watching from St. Lucia in the Caribbean. Love that. And then we've got Jeremy Benassi as well from Missouri. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you do indeed enjoy that. There's many more of you watching out there, but maybe you didn't believe I was going to shout you out. But there you go. So get yourselves involved in the chat. Maybe between race 1 and race 2, we can have a few more people. Let us know where you're watching from. They've got themselves 50 seconds here before we do indeed get going. They're now ready to grid up. Connery, any final thoughts before race number 1?
hope and pray that you can get yourself through turn number 1 unscathed. In fact, the first sector, I would say, heading through the Mercedes-Benz Arena for the first time. There's going to be a lot of side-by-side action in the early portions of this race. And, well, for some drivers, it might end in tears. It's all about keeping yourself in it at this stage.
Absolutely, it is all about that. We've got serial winners in this championship. Florian Hasse, who's won the ADAC twice, or he's won the Cupra 21 championship as well on Race Room. We've got Jack Keithley here, who won the Remus in 2021. He came third in the ADAC GT Masters in 2020. He's got 2 second positions in the ADAC as well. He finished second in the DTM 2020, and we've of course got our current champion then. As we do go green light racing, Moritz Lerner does start in P8, and a couple of drivers there not quite getting off the line. Lots of smoke though being chucked up in the air. It's Marko Pajic who has made a move for the lead, has the inside line in that AMG, and you can see the Fiduci then's going to be hung out to dry there in that multicolored Audi. And I tell you what, they are side by side here, and it's a brilliant bit of work there actually from Fiduci. He's kept the overlap there. It's brilliant stuff there from Fiduci. He lost the lead momentarily, but as we come then down towards turn number 3, he's back in the lead here. Brilliant stuff then from Fiduci.
It is, and we got 3 wide back in the pack as well. Keithley is involved in the middle of all this with Pfeiffer. We've got Dorner then looking to try and squeeze through. Yet more 3 wides. Lerner looking to try and get himself involved here in the early stages as well. This is the battle for that crucial, or rather getting towards that crucial top 5 point. But just look at how they're fighting wheel to wheel for it though. Moritz Lerner and Alexander Dornaden going side by side. Dornaden got the back end out a little bit. Of course, cold tyres at this stage in the race, but he is able to hold on and, well, slot in behind Lerner for the moment, as now he's coming under pressure from Keithley from behind.
Yeah, and the good thing about Alexander Dornaden for someone like Lerner is that he is one of the very cleanest out there. So you know you're going to have a fair race. If you go side by side with him, if you try and make a move around the outside, you're not going to be taken off the circuit. These drivers have raced each other time and time again, and it's great to see them, you know, 2022, and then he said 2021 there. It feels like every year's merged into one the last 3 for sure. You know, Dornaden's lost out there, but Lerner took his chances and knew that it was going to be a fair fight. But again, the driver you predicted here, Fiduci, right at the front there, had a little bit of adversity down in towards turn number 1. But wow, he turned it around in his favour super quickly. As we come up towards the end of lap number 1, he leads the race.
He does, as they negotiate that final chicane and into the final turn for the end of the first lap. And, well, Fiduci just trying his best to extend that gap. Pajic is keeping him honest, though. Hasse third in line for the moment. And this comes back to what I was talking about just before the start of this race, Luke. How much do these front 3 want to fight amongst themselves? I think they'll be a little bit better trying to work together to try and pull the gap on the cars behind, which is exactly what they're doing, it seems like, on the brakes in towards turn number 1.
Oh, Lerner's made a lovely move up the inside here then from P6, and he's got past Pfeiffer up into P5 then again. That is the bubble position, isn't it? P6, you don't really want to be there. Ultimately, you get another chance today and you become one of the favourites for that race. But if you can get this done in one race, Moritz Lerner showcasing exactly why he is our DTM eSports champion currently. And he moves up from 8th on the grid to 5th position, the biggest mover out of everybody on the grid. Top 12, though, have kind of got a little bit of a gap here, about 2 seconds then from the rest of the field. And yeah, it looks like it might become a 12-horse race, if you like, for that top 5. And if moves like that keep happening, Connery, it's going to slow, you know, these drivers down, and it could give drivers behind an opportunity to close up and then make themselves some opportunities. But like you said, you're right, they should be working together right now, just really putting themselves in a position to capitalize on the final 3 laps, whereas everyone else around the sort of top 5 position, they're trying to push really hard. And also, you've got to be wary of your tires as well. So if you overheat those tires, if you get a flat spot on the tires, you can get potential punches. Oh no, dear, Antonov then off the circuit we go through the hairpin, and that is not where you want to be, and that is not putting yourself in a position to capitalize.
Yeah, easily done coming through Dunlop, I believe that was, out into the gravel. And, well, Antonov getting cycled back all the way to 25th place. It's not last, though. Julian Fox is back there. I think he had some problems early on in this event as we look back towards the front of the field. Some little shows of the nose down into the chicane for, well, this time around. But again, I don't think it's in these guys' best interests at the very front of the field, at least, to try and fight amongst themselves, because all they're doing is bringing everyone else back into contention. Moritz Lerner in that 5th place. He's in that final qualification spot, but Pfeiffer is not giving this one up without a fight. There he is on the way down in towards turn number 1. It's just going to be a tough road from here. It's a very, well, Moritz Lerner, not the easiest car to try and pass. He's probably one of the best defenders in Race Room. And, you know, you've still got 25 minutes left, though, so maybe time's on your side, but maybe the exact situation isn't.
Yeah, and also Lerner's got the biggest target on his back, right? He's the most famed driver, if you like, within this field because of the championship we're in. It's the DTM ESPORTS. He races in the DTM family. You know, he got his chance because of this competition. Everybody's going to be aware of who he is. You know, for the most part, everybody kind of knows each other at the top end of esports. There'll be a couple of surprises, but everybody knows Moritz Lerner's driving style. They know that he's an incredible defender. They know that he's going to be clean. He's going to be harsh but fair as well. So he's kind of, you know, it's really tough for a really top sim racer, Connery, these days, because everyone kind of can go back and watch your races on YouTube, on Twitch, whatever you're on. You know, well, DTM is on television at this point for Moritz, and they can suss you out. They can find out your strengths and weaknesses. Whereas for Moritz, you know, when he's racing other people he might not know so much about, he's got to be wary of a move around the outside, on the inside, late braking, maybe a little bit of a love tap, as you like to say, because he's got less aware of them. So everyone knows what he's capable of, but ultimately it's not really phasing him at this stage. He's gone up from 8th to 5th, perfect position right now, and you can see it's a small gap that he's sort of worked out here with Pfeiffer and behind him, but it's a manageable gap, which is the most important factor here.
Yeah, 2021 was quite a year for Moritz Lerner. I think he ironed out a lot of his issues that he had in 2020 and earlier, because he used to have this habit of just getting himself involved in mistakes that weren't really his own doing, you know, I think he's just taken the chill pill a little bit, and it's got him some fantastic and really, really consistent results, at least in 2021. So he's hopefully going to be able to carry that momentum into 2022. He's going to show the nose down the inside at turn 1 on Krippner, looking for that 4th place, but unsuccessful for now, and doesn't really scare Krippner out of line either.
His emotions are in check. That's what I would say was the biggest factor for Moritz Lerner in 2022. A couple of years ago, you'd look at him and he would get a lot more upset about incidents that maybe were out of his control. You know, potential incidents that maybe where he was at fault as well. You know, because every there's two sides to every argument. Every driver makes a mistake. That's just the nature of the beast. But last year, a few times I've had conversations with him before a race in the DTM Trophy, and you know, sometimes he didn't even know if his car was going to make it because of incidents that were out of his control in either qualifying or in a race on the Saturday. Maybe on Sunday the car wasn't going to be there. The Media Markt team did a huge, incredible job actually of you know, continuing to get the car out there, but he never seemed phased about it. He was kind of like very open, very honest. It's like, oh, this is not a good day. You know, he's not getting out the car and throwing his arms up in the air. He just is a lot more reserved and he's a lot more calculated. I think that's probably the best word. Anyway, less of that. You know, this is not the Moritz Lerner show as much as he is our champion. Jack Keithley, 2nd in the DTM Esports last time out, down to P8. And, you know, as much as there's 22 minutes here, probably needs to start getting on with a couple of moves, really, if he wants to get up to that top 5.
Yeah, the gap ahead of Dorneden is getting up to just over a second at this point, so I get the feeling that Jack Keithley might be getting a little bit held up here behind the German driver of course, that Mercedes ahead, or rather the Audi ahead at the moment is the Dorneden is piloting. So yeah, Jack Keithley, he was top of the pile when it came to the leaderboards to be able to qualify for this event, but not a very ideal qualifying and not an ideal start to this race has kind of resulted in him being a little bit stuck there in P8 as he'll show the nose down the inside here. There's a little bit of an alternate line being taken coming off the corner, but nothing that will result in any side-by-side through turn 2 at all. And of course he has to be concerned about Adam Pincez behind him as well. So not a great situation for Keithley. He'd be expecting a little bit more out of this first heat race, but of course, even if he doesn't get inside the top 5 for this race, he does still have a chance in that bonus race.
Yeah, 100%. But you look at both fields, and we will get to sort of the top 10 seeds for race 2 once we finish this race here. You realise that it becomes very, very difficult. It's not a lottery. It's still in your own hands. A last chance qualifier race, you know things are going to be a bit more frantic. You know people are going to take a few more chances, and you could be on the opposite end. This is it's the only esport where you can have an adverse effect on yourself or other drivers by bending the rules, or your mistake can cost someone else their opportunity of going through. So yeah, you want to get the job done. Look at Pinchez though, very much on the limit of the car as he gets very squirrely. That wasn't even squirrely. That was like Nitro Rallycross coming out of the Schumacher S's there. Lost a bit of time, but ultimately hasn't lost his race there. So Adam Pinchez, take a bow. It's a great save. I think he's going to be struggling for a couple of laps here, though, with overheated tyres. But you made a very good point, Connery. Right now, Jack Keithley does look a little bit faster than Dorniden. He's being, held up here for sure. And even if he does make an overtake and he's got that outright raw pace, to get then up to the next car, which is only P6, it's not even the top 5, it's going to take a good couple of laps. He's going for it now, though. Surely he's gone for it. No, he hasn't. He had to back out there. Dorniden closes the door. Dorniden really looks like he's struggling mid-corner. His entry is not ideal, and just trying to get that car rotated as we now are on board with Jack Keithley in that slipstream. And, well, this car's a lot better under braking in terms of being in the AMG. He's gone for the fake then round the outside and then dives one up the inside. Got the overlap here. Is there contact between the two? No, there isn't. Dorniden is going to run wide though because he's trying to defend it. He's now got the overlap up the inside. Keithley pinches Dorniden onto the apex. I tell you what, Pinches is now looking at that pinch and thinking, I want to pinch that position. Not able to do so. Now it gets scrappy as Dorniden has contact with Keithley, and I think you'll find that Keithley's going to lose out here. Is he going to try and keep hold of it? He isn't. The fellow Audi then of Pinches is coming through, but look at this, it's Stanger as well in behind them. Jack Keithley then getting really involved with Dorniden. They're both on the absolute limit, but ultimately Keithley has come out worse off.
Yeah, and I think that's a little bit of karma there. That was a bit too heavy defending for me, at least. Keithley trying to force the driver on the inside, almost out of road, coming through turn 3 there. And I think there might have been a little bit of contact there through that section. It's sometimes relatively hard to tell here, but yeah, like you said, Keithley has lost out in that particular sequence of battling. Pinces able to pick up the position, pick up the scraps, so to speak. So we've got Jan Stanger now tagging on to the back of this 4-car train at the moment as well. So potentially he might have something coming up to the second half of the race. Of course, it is a 30-minute event. 15 minutes will be our halfway point. But for me, a little bit too aggressive there from Keithley.
Yeah, 100%. I would actually go as far to say both of them. I think they both should be put on a naughty step there for a little bit. Dorniden, I think Jack Keithley's reputation precedes him there. Dorniden is a very, a little bit more reserved kind of driver than what Keithley is. If there's an opportunity, Keithley's taking it, and the opportunity was open. Dorniden closed it as quickly as it opened. I want to have a look here at P18. Whitfoot, who we last looked at, was in P25. Not had a great start, but boy, is he coming through the field here. The Ballast Esports driver then is P18, so 7 spots gained after what seemed to be a bit of a terrible start. And look at up ahead though, we've also got the Audis fighting for position as well, as we've got Sebastian Ree down in towards turn number 1. It's 37. Oh, look at this, Gomez has got to try and hold on to this position. I don't think it's going to quite work out, but this is just fantastic here, and it is going to actually work out. Fair play to Gomez then, although he's not quite got the inside light covered. Well, as I say that, the McLaren shoots across and says, yes, absolutely, I'll have a bit of that. And you can see how much of an advantage it is to get those 2 left wheels on the inside of that curve through turn number 3. And now all of a sudden, the McLaren's left them in the dust. The 2 Audis now are going to have to fight for position. The 2 number 37s as Attila Dinya is also going to try and come through. And he's side by side. He's got the overlap as well. Then down in towards 5. And now in towards 6. Brilliant stuff there, actually. A little bit of grubbing is racing there, Connery. Both very hard fought battling there between the both of them, but again, respect levels. Well, as I say that, that's poor.
Yeah, that is quite poor, and well, maybe we'll see what the stewards have to say after that one. That was one of the more obvious punts off the circuit that I've ever seen. So Dinya losing that position there, and now we'll be dropping back into the clutches of Kadir and Vitvot and Antonov, who's on a recovery drive as well at this stage. So yeah, it seems like you just got instantly jinxed there, Luke. It's unfortunate, but it does happen to us sometimes.
Yeah, we've never seen an Audi do that before in DTM, so, that's a first for everything. Anyway, moving swiftly on towards that final corner, we will go. And, yeah, that battle was lovely while it indeed was going down, but it didn't last too long, unfortunately. Whitefoot now, because of that, is actually caught up to the back here, but he's also, indeed, bringing along a McLaren with him. It's 3 wide here. Look at this. As we head then towards the final corner, swinging it round the outside. And again, now trying to look up towards P17. Remember, if you don't finish top 5 in this, it's 6th down to 19th position. They will also qualify through to the last chance qualifier race, which is today.
They will, and here's another little look from Whitvote around the outside at turn number 1. It can be done, requires a little bit more commitment than that. He's looking for the up and under instead, though, up in towards turn number 2, looking to try and swing it out there and
maybe try and make something happen into turn number 3 now, but he's simply not going to get the opportunity to. There's a couple of ways you can approach that first sector. The up and under being one of them, the absolute send down the inside at turn number 1 the other. But it still requires a lot of skill to try and make an overtake through there. It promotes side-by-side racing, but it doesn't mean you can actually execute the overtake when push comes to shove.
Yeah, there's 2 ways of doing an absolute send. There's the way we saw on the previous lap between the 2 Audis, and then there's what we saw from Moritz Lerner early in the race. You've got to be a bit more calculated. You can't rely on the car behind you to effectively get out your way. It is what it is. It's unfortunate, but for sure that is indeed motor racing, and they've got to try and make their positions up as quickly as possible. Adam Pinches then in P8, where Jack Keithley was a couple of laps ago. Keithley now looking at the back of another Audi, trying to find himself an opportunity. Meanwhile, Alexander Dorniden, who was involved in a battle between him and Keithley earlier, is now up to P7. Let's look at a gap then between 5th and 6th. It's not a huge gap, but it's, again, like I said, it's a manageable gap. So Lerner, 8th to 5th, trying to defend his title, is in a very comfortable position right now. You can see that the gap is not huge between 5th and 6th, but like I said, manageable is what you want right now. You want the car behind you far enough away to know that they're not going to be able to dive you up the inside and force you offline. The front 2, though, they're just doing a sensational job, aren't they? To be fair, we missed it. Pajic is actually ahead of Fiducci here. So Fiducci has made a mistake somewhere, and Pajic is now in the lead.
Yeah, there's so much action going on back through the field that when the leaders try to, well, start fighting, they do it away from the cameras. But yeah, Pajic up into the race lead in the Mercedes as well. So not only a change of race leading driver, a change of race leading manufacturer as well, as we've got 3 different manufacturers on the podium here, as Florian Hasse in the McLaren is on that final step for the moment. That's good to see, and it's good to see that the balance performance is, well, at least more equal than sometimes it tends to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's so difficult to nail a balance of performance around different circuits because every car reacts to a circuit differently. It is what it is. But right now, again, like you said, great to see 3 different manufacturers up there. The best thing for me is there's an Italian splitting the 473 Germans in this race to qualify through as our top 5. So he's stopping that German party. We've got a lovely battle here as well, as Herbelon from the TX3 team is just about going to hold position here. And it's going to be P13. So this is a battle for P13. Again, you're not looking to move up towards the top 5, but you're just trying to get a bit more of insurance and make sure you're not falling outside of the top 19. You don't really want to battle too ferociously over the course of the next couple of laps and put yourself in the clutches of that group of cars in behind. But yeah, lovely bit of driving there from Herbie on the Belgian driver, just about holding on to that P13. So just get some confidence, really, Connery. Drivers that are in the mid-pack right now, get yourself some confidence. Maybe find some of your quickest laps of the race now. You find out about what you're capable of doing in terms of sizing up an overtake, because you're going to need that in the last chance qualifier. There is so many opportunities to find out information moving forward. You can't just think, oh, I'm in a comfortable position right now. I know I'm in that race later on. It's all about trying to find out as much information as possible. And also, the drivers around you, because more than likely, you're going to have those drivers around you in that last chance qualifier as well.
Yeah, but more likely than not, that's for sure. And, well, we'll get to see what happens when it comes to that last chance qualifier. I think I get the feeling we'll see a few more desperate moves in that last chance qualifier, just due to the nature of the competition. That will be their last chance, at least for today, to get themselves qualified into the DTM eSports season for 2022. Of course, we do have another shootout as well in a couple of weeks' time for these drivers to have another attempt at it. But yeah, you want to get it done as quickly and as easily as possible here. That's what the top 5 here have done for the moment. And, well, Max Pfeiffer, he's in P6 there in the Mercedes. So he's wanting to try and get himself a little bit further up there as well, just to make sure that he can get himself qualified and not have to compete in that last chance.
Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on there. There are 3 races today. This is the first of those races. Everybody's already pre-qualified to get to this stage, but there is a qualifying 2. So indeed, get onto Race Room, have a look out for that one in a couple of weeks' time. But yeah, today, top 5 from this race will indeed advance to our main championship. They will indeed get onto that entry list. And then we've got a second race, which is another set of drivers, 28 drivers. Again, top 5 will advance then to our main championship, which starts next month. And then we've got a last chance qualifier race. Again, this is all happening today. From P6 down to P19 in both heat races will qualify for that last chance qualifier, and the top 4 in that race will advance. We'll have 14 drivers making it through this week. In 2 weeks' time, we will have 14 drivers also make it through here as well. As Jack Keithley is making a move on Pinches. He squeezed Pinches there as well, and the job is indeed done, although he's it's not quite done, should I say, as you would probably expect. Adam Pinches and is going to take that outside line. Keithley should be able to outbrake it, already got his nose ahead, and is squeezing Pinches out as far as he possibly can out onto that curb. He'll turn in as late as he possibly can to force Pinches to not be able to do the whoop-de-wop or the over and under, whatever you want to call it. As we come through turn number 2, Pinches trying to find a little overlap himself, but he's not. Textbook stuff there from Keithley. Aggressive again through the Coca-Cola curve, and then along that start-finish straight, making sure that Pinches just couldn't get any extra room on the inside, and now moves up to P8. But again, it's not quite good enough right now. 10 minutes to go in this race. A lot of work for Jack Keithley to do to get through to that top 5.
Yeah, he probably needed that about 10 to 15 minutes earlier, if I'm being completely honest, because look at what the gap, well, it's onto the gap to Dornaden. It's, 2.6 seconds at the moment between Dornaden and, or rather, 2 seconds between Dornaden and Keithley. So that's quite a bit of time to try and make up, and then he needs to pass Dornaden, and he needs to pass Pfeiffer, then he needs to pass Lohner to get himself inside the top 5. So not looking at all likely, pending any sort of outside circumstances here for Jack Keithley to try and get himself in that top 5 and get qualified in this first heat of this first shootout to go into the 2022 DTM eSports season. So I get the feeling we'll get to see Jack Keithley again later on today. There's the sort of leading pack, shall we say, here. Pfeiffer still on the tail of this one. I think we should, the focus needs to be on Pfeiffer now for the final 9 minutes of this race. He is the only, he's the driver that's just on the back of this top 5 trainer. Remember, top 5 gets you that automatic qualification. He needs just that little bit of extra performance now in the final laps of this race if he's going to have any chance at causing what would be considered an upset and put Lohner down into P6 and force him to last chance qualify.
Yeah, Pfeiffer is a very busy driver at the moment. He's actually in the World Finals of the Logitech McLaren G Challenge as well. So that is coming up in next weekend for him. So just, incredible performance across multiple sims at this rate. Just a mark of a phenomenal driver. But has he saved something in terms of the tyres? Has he saved a little bit of tyre wear here to be able to maybe attack at the end? Moritz Lohner, I think, will probably want to make an overtake here as soon as he possibly can to try and just get that little bit of insurance for the top 4, because Pfeiffer is going to come back at them. That is for certain. What about Robert Wiesenmuller, head of esports at Race Room for the last time we were doing this championship? He's in P11 racing this time round. Again, an incredibly talented driver, shall I say, but has been a massive part of the Race Room esports over the last few years. So I want to give a massive shout out to him. A lovely chap and very much an important person, an important pioneer for the esports sim racing world as we know it today. But to see him also competing at this level, he's always been very, very good within this sim. It's great to see him in P11. It looks like he is going to go and head to the last chance qualifier, but he's going to be one of the very favourites to do well in that race because he's one of the quickest drivers in this lobby by being P11. So, yeah, phenomenal performance from him. But Sorry, Connor, we had to go on a little bit of a tangent there. Back to the top 6, back to the bubble position. And, yeah, can Pfeiffer potentially find a position here? He really needs to hope that Krippner makes a mistake here or is on the limit of his tyres, which then will slow Lohner down. He wants them to really start trying to overtake each other, try holding position and start battling effectively. So that means he can then just creep onto the back of them, hopes that he saves something to then potentially attack over the last 7 minutes. So this is going to be interesting here. What has Pfeiffer left in the tank?
You took the words right out of my mouth there, Luke. It doesn't look like, at least right now with the pace that Pfeiffer is showing, that he has the clear air performance or even the draft performance to be able to make anything of these positions directly ahead of him. But like you said, it's all dependent on what happens with this Krippner and Lohner battle, as you see the differing lines through turn 1 there once again. And Lohner has to be pretty careful here. He can't afford to go side by side with Krippner and then have Pfeiffer get himself an opportunity to try and pick up a position or two. But then again, you also don't want to be too passive here with Krippner and let Pfeiffer get onto the back of you by default. So it's really an awkward situation here for Lohner, but of course he is one of the most experienced drivers here in Race Room. He knows how to manage these sorts of situations, but it still is a little bit sketchy with 6 minutes left to go and a gap of, just 7.5 tenths of a second between P5, P6.
Yeah, and you're right. It's one of those where Moritz Lohner's kind of taken this race and put it into his own hands, hasn't he? P8 on the grid, had to get into a top 5, and the first 10 minutes of this race, he was just absolutely sensational. But now, you've got to weigh up the pros and cons. If you try and make an overtake, ultimately, you're going to be slowed down, and then you're going to be under pressure from the guy behind, and then it's either you or P4 right now who lose a position. So it's a tough one here. He's not got anything to be worried about too much right now, because again, the gap's manageable. The driver behind cannot send a dive in there. Pfeiffer's not close enough to do so. But, you know, the more they keep battling, then, to be fair, I think Lerner might have just taken a bit off the gas here. He's made himself a little gap then to P4, which means that he's, you know, not having to brake a little bit earlier or anything like that. He's able to take the best line through the circuit now, not under too much pressure, and also keep Pfeiffer in behind. But the last thing he wants right now is that McLaren to be slow here as well. So again, you know, it's in his own hands, has been in his own hands, but ultimately the driver's in front. He's kind of in his cockpit, which is really rare for a racing driver. He's telling those front two, I need you to go faster. I need you to be faster right now and make that gap on me, because I'm happy with P5. P5 means exactly the same as P1 right now. So yeah, very, very odd situation to be in. I love this kind of format, though. It just brings so many different storylines.
It's a very, very scrappy lap there from that McLaren ahead of Florian Hasse. It really sort of bunched up these two, well, getting nose to tail once again. That works out in Pfeiffer's favour just a little bit, but I don't think he's making enough inroads yet to be able to get this past down. As you see Krippner losing the back end a little bit out of turn 4. That's certainly not going to help. He's able to gather it up, though, and not have a catastrophic incident, which would make Pfeiffer very happy, I'm pretty sure. But you don't want something like this to be decided on just that single car incident, losing control of the car.
Yeah, it's one of those as well for Lerner. If there's another mistake, you've kind of got to take the opportunity on, and you've got to put the pressure on the driver in front to just back out and not cost each other too much time at this stage. But, you know, if there's 3 or 4 times the driver in front's making a mistake and you're being held up by that, and then, you know, he's ultimately in the worst position by being P5. He would be the one that loses out if the driver behind Pfeiffer makes an overtake. So you might be forced into doing something here with 3 minutes 30 seconds left on the clock. We're going to have 2 laps remaining as they cross the line next time around. And I tell you what, Pfeiffer is as close as he has been the whole time. By the way, Florian Hasse, you said I had a scrappy lap. I'll let you tell him that, by the way, being 3rd in this race with the talent we've got on show. Yeah, you can throw shade on him if you want, Connery. But ultimately, he's figured it out. This next lap's been brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, the drivers are allowed to have at least one bad lap over the course of the
I'm
race.
joking, Connor. I'm just throwing you under the bus.
It's fine. It usually happens to me anyway, even without any outside influence. But 3 minutes left to go of this race. They're running lap times around about 1:55s here at the moment. So there's going to be, well, a good handful of laps to go here at this stage. And, well, just a reminder of the rules here. Of course, once that clock strikes 0, that will be the confirmation that the lap we're currently on is the final lap. So there's no sort of +1 lap situations here like some other series run. Lona just getting right onto the back of Krippner there, and this might be a little bit too much drama for the end of a race.
Yep, Connery's starting to make excitable noises. You know things are going down, that's for sure. As we head then, second to last lap, we've got 1.5 laps to go, and ultimately Lerner is now into the clutches here of Pfeiffer. So, yeah, he really is worried about what's happening in front of him. He's got to be worried about what's happening behind him, though, ultimately, and just try and keep Pfeiffer in behind. Pfeiffer is, again, he's just got to keep himself in a position to take advantage of something going down. He might have to force something happening here as well. Who knows what's going to happen at this stage of the race, but Krippner is very much struggling, and it looks like it's the rear tyres. It is exit speed, trying to get that power down, the car's sliding all over the show, seems to be the issue here. A 30-minute race, it's so tough to keep the tyres in a decent range throughout. If you go out hard, of course, he's had to defend from Lerner for pretty much, 28 minutes at this stage. You know, it's not like it's been a very easy ride for him, is it? He's not been able to just coast his way around. He's got some of the best drivers in front of him and behind him. So the tyres are not great. We've got Julian Fox, who's got a drive-through, which is not ideal, which is speeding in the pit lane. So he's through the pit lane, which is not ideal anyway, because you're not supposed to be pitting during this race. What I'm really interested in here is, does Fiducci make a move for the lead here? Does he set a statement? Does he set his stall right now and go, I'm the one to beat in this esports championship. You know, I know it's a long way to go, Connery. This is only qualifying day number 1. I think there's your answer. He's definitely looking to make something happen. We go down towards turn number 1 then. Payich in the lead, then in the AMG Mercedes, and then we've got the Audi who's going to be stuck around the outside. Oh, big mistake! No! Payich is in big trouble! Huge trouble! Oh, and he's going to be the one that doesn't get through. He's forced into taking a real tight line through turn number 1. His rear tyres have gone as well. And he, from leading the race now, he's down to P7 on the final lap here. Marco Payich, his heartbreak.
I can't believe it, Luke. That was the situation that we didn't expect to happen. I thought if there was going to be an incident, it would have been with the whole Krippner, Lohner and Pfeiffer situation. Never would we have thought it would happen inside the top 2, and it has. Payich has thrown away a qualification spot for the season.
Yeah, this is the trouble though. You know, a 30-minute race, you're kind of on the limit of the tyres. Anybody that may have got a flat spot earlier in the race by just outbraking themselves, that is the potential for the tyres to get punctures later on in the race, or the tyres to just be in an absolute state. We saw it there from Payich. Payich has obviously had to defend from Fiducci for the whole race. You know, Fiducci's not gone away at all, and ultimately it was just one getting on the accelerator too early, you know, too far effectively, and that's cost him that position here. So Pfeiffer, who's put in that hard work as it stands, is now going to be in that P5, so he doesn't even need to make the overtake on Lerner. He's been gifted an opportunity, but hats off to Fiducci. He did not need to be putting on that pressure. He was comfortably in P2, but he did want to indeed let everybody know that I am the driver to beat this season. He forced a mistake from Payich, and, well, Fiducci is the man to beat. Simple as that.
It's all about making a statement sometimes, and here comes your race leader then on the final lap through the final corner here, Luke. Fiducci does it.
Oh, he does. As we come then across the line, Fiducci is the driver to beat. There's going to be questions asked of Payich. I'm seeing people in the chat asking why is he not just surrendered, taken P2, taken his medicine and moved on? Well, that's what pressure does to you, I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen. Fiducci is the driver that's caused all of that by asking questions. And unfortunately, Payich just did not have the answers. Fiducci takes P1, Florian Hasser takes P2, Lerner in the end gets P3, so Krippner's made a mistake here. And then we have indeed got Pfeiffer in P5. What about the P19 position? That's what we're looking at right now. So Lapanek is in P18. We've then got Maximilian Lorenz, who is currently in that final last chance qualifier position. And it's a great final corner. It's going to be a safe passage through to the next phase here. Brilliant stuff then. But the top 5, they're all through, Connery. And, well, already here with DTM Esports, we've got some drama. And Payich, well, he's going to have to now go out there and put on a hell of a show in the last chance qualifier and try and rectify the mistake at the first time of asking.
That was just absolutely crazy, Luke. You know, there were certain ways that could have gone. That was probably one of the lower percentage chance ones that we'll get to see happen. How do you recover from that now if you're Payich? How do you recover from that and look forward to this bonus race now, this last chance qualifier? A lot of drivers will be completely rattled by that.
Yeah, he's one of those drivers that I don't think will be. I've watched him race many a time over many different sims, and he's someone that can have adversity in the middle of a race and get over it and perform brilliantly well. So, yeah, he's got a lot of experience behind him. He's going to be absolutely fine. I wouldn't worry about it. He's going to be gutted, but ultimately he's got, what, 45 minutes, I would say, until we kick off the last chance qualifier race. He will probably actually sit back and relax and take a look at, you know, the next race as well, just to try and chill out. But ultimately, I think we're going to see him come back stronger. And also, he would have learned a lot from that as well, not to try and push on the last lap and hold on to a position that really makes no difference. Here are your top 10 then. So we've got Fiducci, who was incredible. And, well, there they go again. So they've all disappeared. The top 5, we know what the top 5 are, but look at the top 19. So Lorenz is our final driver qualifying for our last chance qualifier race. Connery, that's only race 1. We've got 2 more of those to go. Incredible start to the DTM Esports 2022.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And, well, everyone, well, on this page in particular, well, they're going to be done for today. They weren't able to get above that P19 to be able to participate in the last chance qualifier at the end of this evening. Maybe we'll see them back, though, for the second shootout in a couple of weeks' time, when they'll get another chance to be able to qualify for the 2022 DTM Esports season. There's a recap of the top 10. Fiducci, Hasser, Lohner, Krippner, Pfeiffer. Those are the 5 drivers that have qualified into the 2022 DTM Esports season here, Luke. Oh, that, again, drama, but from when we didn't expect, from the place we didn't expect it.
Absolutely. You know, it's an incredible race, and we've had a lot of excitement. We've got zero time to recover, really, because we're going to be heading straight to race number 2 very, very shortly. So we found 5 of our qualifiers that are indeed going to advance to the next phase of the competition. Well, to the start of the main competition. Now, they are the first 5 on our entry list. So congratulations to them. There indeed are going to be other drivers that have an opportunity in the last chance qualifier as well. So it's not all done and dusted, but all of the drivers are finished outside the top 19. Congratulations for making it this far. No one can ever take that away from you, but also make sure that you try and get back in for qualifying day number 2. But Connery, let's have a little look then at our intro video and take a little bit of a break before we head to race number 2.
Will he pin the apex? No, he's overshot it. Lerner will take the lead, and Lerner's waiting for the last second. Keithley's going to get second. Keithley's going to get second. What a finish here, Connery. No, Timo Glock. So Timo Glock right now is earning... Oh, no, contact there. That's not good at all. Yeah, Nuninghoff and Pinches. Nuninghoff is back up into the lead here.
Well, hold on. What's going on? Yarshall's made a mistake here. So Yarshall dropping down. Yarshall's now P10. Oh, no. There you go. Ivanov.
Nuninghoff has gone here. Adam Pinches has also gone here. Oh, he's on the circle. Oh, big smash there. Big crash. The long run down towards Blanchimont. He's up the inside line, getting squeezed onto the apex then by Nuninghoff. Yuyovski trying to get involved too as well. Nuninghoff late on the brakes here. Will he pin the apex? No, he's overshot it. Lerner will take the lead, and Lerner's waiting for the last second. Keithley's going to get second. Keithley's going to get second. What a finish here, Connery. Maurice Lerner takes the victory. Keithley second.
Uses the curb to rotate the car. Contact once again between the two, but I think Jimmer might have the run here. Not quite. Oh.
So Kelvin's just going to lose that to Nuninghoff.
And as you can see, Nuninghoff has waited and waited and waited. He's closed up here ever so gradually, underneath the rear wing. Runs out wide then through turn number 1. And wow, he's going to go for the switchback here. Keithley runs out wide. He will now automatically have the inside line for the next 2 corners. You can see him fighting with the oversteer of the car there, using the curb to rotate the car as well. Turn 12, lap number 2. So maybe he did have contact between the two, and he's using the pit lane here for Ivanov. Ivanov trying to make the move up the inside to turn 1.
Fight with Bedin here. Bedin with the up and under coming through Lecombe. Oh, Ivanov got crossed up.
Genuine push to pass. That might be called there. A little bit of a love tap. And, well, he couldn't get the move done initially. Down towards turn 1, though, he has. Jimmy Broadbent around the outside. Battle. Timo Glock there running out wide. You can see Kelvin van der Linde's looking on here, thinking, oh, a couple of positions potentially here. Romanidis then looking for a late lunge up the inside. Kelvin van der Linde then just about holding onto the car. He's in behind Timo Glock. And Romanidis is up the inside, so Romanidis is indeed going to momentarily get a position. And Kelvin
is then in P2. He's got the inside line then through the second part of the chicane, and wow, very aggressively there, puts Jack Keithley almost off the circuit. And this will be for the lead of the pro race.
Couple of errors. Oh, yeah, there's... Well, I've jinxed him.
Then try to find a move here as well. Round the outside for Yuyovski. Yuyovski did not qualify in race number 1, but now he loses out here for second spot. And Lerner will take the checkered flag here at Spielberg. What a finish here, Connery. And you can see it there, the relief. He knows that he is the DTM ESPORTS 2020 champion.
Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. No time to breathe here. We're heading straight to, indeed, race number 2. But first, let's have a look at the top 10 seeds heading into this. Then we've got Tim Yarshall, Kevin Siggy. Everybody knows who Kevin Siggy is. Isaac Price, then Jack Keithley's brother. We've got Leon Rudinger, Mark Gassner, Peter Pliska, Christopher Hogfeld, Alessandro Ottaviani, Michael Arashel, and we've got Martin Barner. An incredible top 10. And as I always say, there's always a Hungarian. And in P10, there's Martin Barner. Connery, what a grid this is going to be.
Yep, this is incredible. If you thought the previous grid was strong, well, you'd be correct. But this one is also incredibly competitive. Again, just a laundry list of names from the very top level of Race Room Esports. You know how desperate these drivers are to try and get into this series when basically everyone tries to show up to it. Of course, you know, we've got the top 10 on the entry list here. We've got 26 drivers in total taking part in this second heat. And, well, we can can jump straight into qualifying, as drivers are starting to complete their first couple of flying laps here at the moment. Siggy going fastest of everyone so far, and that's not an entirely surprise if you are kept up with a lot of Race Room Esports. He's in the McLaren at the moment, on top of the pile compared to a couple of Mercedes that have set some early times here. Same format as Heat 1, of course.
Yeah, McLaren Shadow Champion driving a McLaren. Who'd have thought it, hey? Currently set the fastest time we've seen of the day as well. We saw earlier on that in practice, the times were about 0.3 of a second quicker than what we saw in indeed the qualifying phase to get to this point. Well, right now, Siggy has absolutely nailed it in terms of the times that they were producing in practice today. They didn't manage to get down to those times in qualifying. It was a 54.25, I think, something similar around that area. That is an incredible, incredible time. Everyone else is around about the same mark as what we saw from race number 1. So Siggy really is setting a statement here.
Yep, he really is, and he completed that lap. He took the tow back to pit lane. He hasn't come out since, so I don't know if that's a statement of confidence there from Kevin Siggy, just going, okay, I got my lap done. No one's going to beat that. I'm just going to sit here in pit lane and just wait for a little bit before the rest of the drivers complete their flying laps here. I don't usually see it, so we've got all bar one car out there in qualifying at the moment, and that car that's sat on pit lane is your current pole position sitter. That's a bit weird.
Well, yeah, considering his qualifying time to get to this phase of 54.456, maybe that's the best lap he's produced. And he's just like, well, I'm probably not going to go any faster than that. Sometimes, and it doesn't happen very often, I think the last time I saw that was Sebastian Vettel at Singapore, maybe, I don't know what year that would have been in, maybe 2012, where he just parked the car and didn't do another lap in qualifying and took pole position from his first lap he produced in Q3. That's the last time I saw it, but it does happen every now and again where a driver is just like, wow, I've gone beyond my expectations of what I've been doing in practice. There's really no point here. And it's a lovely problem to have because you can just sit back and you can watch everybody else. You can maybe look at different lines certain drivers are taking. But ultimately, you've now got an 8-9 minute gap between your lap and the race starts. You can go and make yourself a drink. You can fluff that special pillow that you've got on your sim rig at home, whereas everyone else is kind of going to be frantically moving between the sessions. So, yeah, Kevin Siggy not only setting a statement, but he's in a brilliant position now to just relax.
Yeah. It's a really nice position to be in. It's a very rare position to be in at the end of qualifying, being that confident in your lap that you think no one's going to be able to surpass you. I personally would still get out there and do laps just to make sure I'm prepared for the race to come, but I guess Siggy has a different approach in this situation, and that's Isaac Price getting himself an off track, which will mean his lap time is invalidated, as he is in one of the two BMWs that are going to be taking part in this race. Of course, the BMW seems to be one of the less popular manufacturers here for this particular shootout at this particular track, but of course the bounce performance does ebb and flow over the course of a season, so we might see some other manufacturers be strong at some other places.
Yeah, Isaac Price could be on a unicycle and still be quick, to be honest with you. This guy's a ridiculous, talented driver. I've never seen him and Jack Heathley in the same room, so I'm wondering if they are the same person. And also, I would like to say that Isaac Price is probably the best leather jacket wearing model out there in the world of not only esports, but just generally. He pulls off a leather jacket like he's like the Fonz of 2022.
Yeah, I guess I have to rely on your assessment of that. Again, pop culture references I don't get, and well, Hugfeldt didn't get that apex at the NGK chicane either, so he's going to dive down on towards the pit lane as the Swedish driver. Of course, he's had a good performance. Well, he's had good performances over the course of last year, 2021. So
you missed a trick, Connery.
Go on.
He did a Scandinavian flick.
Hey, there we go. Yeah. I have a baseline standard for puns, Luke.
Okay, my bad. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's put me in my place, and I deserve it.
There we go. Remember, I'm the one that has all the power here due to the fact that I'm also running the stream. So there we go. 1 minute and 24 seconds left in the qualifying session, though. Yarshel up into second place over 2.5 tenths slower than Siggy's time at the moment. That does seem to be a rather impressive time from Kevin Siggy. He's really laid it all out on the table there, and just with that first lap of qualifying, seems like he's been able to get the rewards, as the Slovenian will start up at the front.
absolute animal. That is a ridiculous time. Like, that is as quick as we've seen in practice, and the practice session was open for 2 hours prior. No, it was even longer than that, wasn't it? It's like 4 hours prior to the qualifying starting. So yeah, to get down to that time in your first time of asking, that is scary. Siggy is one of the, I would say, over the last 4 years, Connery, one of the more successful drivers in the world of sim racing across all championships. You know, he won the Formula E Race from Home Challenge. He won the McLaren Shadow Esports as well. He's won, you know, in your backyard, Connery, he's won some of the biggest races in the special events on iRacing as well, with Team Redline. Like, this guy is on a different planet in terms of his pace.
Yeah, he's one of those drivers where no matter what car you put him in on any sim, not just Race Room but others as well, he finds some way to go fast, and that's exactly what he's done here today. P1 in qualifying with his first lap. He didn't even get out there again to try and better it. That's the confidence that he had, that he knew that lap time wasn't going to be beaten, and no one even got close either. Yarshall was over 2.5 tenths of a second back, and that's, you know, we don't usually see margins that big in the top level here in a qualifying session.
Yeah, Kevin Siggy, spent a bit of time with him a few years ago, and he is crazier than a box of frogs. And it's just like everything is at 100 miles an hour in his brain, and, you know, as a person. But as soon as he gets in a car, you know, whether it be sim, whether it be real, like, everything is in tune. It's a joy to watch. It really is, to be completely honest with you. And you know, we expect him to be fast. I didn't expect him to be, you know, 2.5 tenths of a second faster than everybody. You know, that is just ridiculous, to say the very least here. They've got 7 minutes here to warm up. Connery, I think we're hard pressed to pick someone outside of Siggy. You know, I'm going to ask you for a prediction, and let's just take Siggy out of the equation, shall we? Because he's clearly the favourite here. Who are you looking at to really step up and show a performance here? And also, what would have the drivers have learned from race number 1?
It's quite tough to choose here. The two that I will certainly keep an eye on are Christopher Hergfeld, P6 at the moment. He's on that sort of bubble just outside of it at the moment, but I think he convinced me enough last year that he certainly has the skill and the capabilities to mix it in with the top drivers here on Race Room. You've always got the wild card of Isaac Price down there in 9th to start as well. He can certainly, on a good day, get himself some crazy moves pulled off, especially some of the ones I saw in 2021, where he just had some complete disregard for his own car's safety and slinging it down the inside and somehow making it work. You know, so you've always got to bet on Isaac Price to be able to move through the field, but at least in terms of drivers learning things from that first race, they gotta, you know, they'll know that maybe, of course, the slipstream's a little bit weaker in these cars compared to what they were, of course, you know, in the last DTM eSports season. But of course, those were completely different cars with DRS as well. So that's, you know, it's completely different kind of racing, these GT3s, and of course they have to be concerned about the tire wear as well. At the end of 30 minutes, you wouldn't have thought so, considering these GT3 cars, you know, they can do hour-long stints pretty easily in endurance racing mode. But it seems like towards the end of the 30 minutes, we saw some drivers start to have their rear tires go, so I think that's possibly going to be one of the things that these drivers will look to try and remedy a little bit better than those drivers in the first race.
Yeah, but in endurance racing mode, you're maybe driving at 95%. In a 30-minute sprint race, these drivers are not taking, you know, it is qualifying lap after qualifying lap, effectively. You know, they are on the absolute limit of the car. So that's why you'll see them struggling with, you know, maybe a couple of laps ago. We saw that earlier on as well. And well, 4 minutes, 30 seconds to go. Let's get involved with a chat then, ladies and gentlemen. I can see there Leslie Florence just put, wait, did the announcer not know what a Scandinavian flick was? Yes, he knows what a Scandinavian flick is. It was more my reference to the Fonz, guys. You know, you've got to be a certain age to know who the Fonz is, and probably many of you out there are probably saying the same thing, like, excuse me? You know, it's from the 70s. Although I shouldn't really remember that because I'm only 24. But who's going to win this race then? Let's have some predictions on the YouTube chat. I am watching the YouTube chat. Let me know where you're watching from around the world. And yeah, maybe give us a top 5 or one prediction, whatever you want. You know, just get involved in the chat. We're all more than happy to get a little bit of conversation going with you guys and having a bit of fun. So come through Schumacher S is here of Peter Pliska for Team Fordzilla. So changed teams, was a Team Ballast driver, now representing Team Fordzilla.
And obviously the Ford's not available in this because they don't race in DTM. So it's I'm you know, no matter what sim I'm commentating on, when I see a Team Fordzilla member in anything other than the Ford, it just makes my brain just sort of giggle a little bit.
Yeah, it does. Look, I understand what you're saying there. You know, as much as we can try and act like we're adults, you know, we're children underneath, aren't we?
Yeah, we really are. We like to give this air of professionalism, but no, deep on the inside, we look at funny little situations and just go haha. But yeah,
I even struggle to put an air of professionalism out there. I can't even get that bit down.
We do try though, and I think that's the important thing. we try.
That's what it's all about. It is just all about trying, ladies and gentlemen. It is all about trying. Well, we got Devani Smart watching from Jamaica. Lots of Caribbean watches today. That's great to see. Anton Anashin is watching from Lithuania. Noise, welcome. Hopefully you're all good. Well, Leslie Florent has gone for a Benz for gold. Well, that's a bold statement considering there's 47 of them here in this race. But yeah, maybe, who knows? Pedro, great to see you racing here today as well, Pedro. And also, thanks for the kind comments. Hopefully we'll see you throughout this competition. Well, we're going to see you one more time today anyway, so that's always great news. But yeah, well done for qualifying for this phase of the competition. 2 minutes to go, Connery. Again, maybe some nerves out there. They would have seen race number 1. They will have seen Pajic make that unnecessary mistake in the final lap, so they'll all know that the tyres are going to be in a terrible state on the final lap. So yeah, it's all about really taking what you've learned from watching race number 1, because they would have watched it, right, Connery? Yeah. I know they would have been doing their laps and stuff, but they would have been either listening to what we're talking about. They probably, if they had a TV screen, they're definitely muting us, but just looking at the footage. But they would have learned something anyway.
At least from my experience, you can put the drivers into 2 camps, and it is basically those who watch the stream and those who don't. I think some, of course, they like to have the sort of overview of what has gone before them in the previous races, so that's, like you said, they can use information from that first race to judge what might happen in the second race. But there are some other drivers that are sort of head down, I'm just going to focus on my own thing. I don't care what happened in the previous race. This is the only race that matters because I'm in it, sort of situation. And those are usually the same drivers that don't want anyone to talk to them over the radio over the course of the race as well. They're just sort of hyper focused on what they're trying to do. So yeah, some of them might have watched the previous race, some of them might not, but each driver has their own way of preparing for very stressful and important races like this one.
Yeah, for sure. And the reason it's important is because a lot of these drivers have dreams of becoming a real racing driver. That is the prize, ladies and gentlemen. 5 drivers will indeed make it to a sighting event this year during the DTM 2022 calendar. And one of those 5 drivers will be chosen and given a full paid-for package to drive in the DTM trophy in 2023. It doesn't get any better than that. If you want to become a racing driver, if sim racing was your gateway, it's very similar to what karting was maybe 20 years ago or even just 10 years ago. Now you have karting, now you have sim racing as a gateway into the real thing. So big opportunity here for these drivers. I'm excited to see how well it goes down. In the DTM trophy specifically, look at who's won the championship previously. We had Tim Heinemann win the inaugural season. He came from a huge race room background. That's where it all began for him. We had Ben Green, who won the second season this year. He's got his very own Ginetta GT4 that he crashed as a sim rig at home, which is crazy to see. Will Tregertha, who is on iRacing, on Race Room, he's doing sim racing all the time. He's going to be representing a team in the virtual Le Mans coming up shortly. Finished second in the DTM trophy. So yeah, the DTM and indeed esports are now coming hand in hand. Big opportunity for these drivers. And well, this is the first step. They've all qualified for this race, and now it's all about getting into that top 5 and booking your ticket to the DTM ESPORTS Championship 2022. 50 seconds to go, Connery. Any final thoughts?
Well, it was neat and tidy through the first couple of turns for race number 1. Hopefully we get a repeat of it here today. I think Siggy's probably going to run away with things at the very front of the field, but that's, the rest of the top 5 still very, very big question marks linger over those positions as we get the gridding procedure underway.
Easy for you to say that, Connery. Easy for you to say.
I tried.
20. Exactly that. We're just trying, guys. That's all we're doing here. It looks like Siggy was the last driver to indeed take their spot on the grid. We're waiting for those green lights to show here. It's race number 2 of qualifying day number 1. Top 5 will get through to our eSports Championship, and then it's 6th to 19th that will make it through to our final race today and the last chance qualifier, and it's the long run down towards turn number 1. We are green light racing, and actually very similarly to what we saw in race number 1, Looks like the leader hasn't got the best of starts, but the second phase by Siggy was absolutely incredible. But look at this lunge up the inside then. Yarshall and Siggy have a bit of contact there. Yarshall's going to hold on to it there. Brilliant stuff. 3 wide again for P3. Very similarly to what we saw earlier on as well. And wow, what a phenomenal start here. And again, P1 does not lead on lap number 1.
Yeah, does not. So Yarshall getting a fantastic start. Initial getaway was good, but the line towards turn number 1 was even better, and he's able to get the position away from Kevin Siggy. So that's my prediction completely out of the window then, because now Kevin Siggy cycled back into P2. Now he has to try and fight with Yarshall to get back up to the pointy end of the field. Everyone else looked like I think the entirety of the 26 cars got through relatively unscathed through that first sector, which is absolutely fantastic to see. Now down the hill into the braking zone of Dunlop. Now no overtaking moves being attempted for the moment. Högfeldt still in 6th place with Isaac Price in 7th, so they're still outside of the top 5 qualification spots for the moment. They weren't able to pick those up off the start, but still a very, very long way to go as a couple of drivers out of shape through the S's.
Yeah, a little bit of a mistake there by looks of things. Gassner? It is. Oh no, it's just a little bit further back again. It's Hogveld and Petter Pliska. Pliska in the pink car, and then you've got Hogveld, who is indeed in the yellow car for you guys following at home. And they've got that BMW of Isaac Price just in behind, and he is waiting to pounce like a panther here, isn't he? He is very close indeed, hoping to see these two make a mistake. And actually, they're both going to have to go defensively up and towards the chicane. Pliska opens up the corner late there, and it will indeed impede him on the exit. And Isaac Price has got a great run here on the Scandinavian, and he's up the inside of the Swede. And Isaac Price, then, we know if he finds himself in an opportunity, he is absolutely opening that door for sure. And he does move up a position here. Look at the BMW straight line speed. It is very quick indeed, but under braking is like braking in a bus. So yeah, the AMG may be able to try and slip one up the inside here of turn number 1. Going for it. Hogveld is indeed up the inside, and can you get that power down? This is again where the BMW has its strength, not so much the acceleration, it's really the mid gears where the top end speed is huge, but the car is what, 4 or 5 times wider and longer than everything else on the grid, so if you can keep yourself in front here, it becomes very difficult to indeed pass. We come then through turns number 3, now 4, heading down in towards 5, and the real winner of this is Petter Pliska. He made a mistake and actually gave the opportunity to Hogveld to make a move, but ultimately Price has taken that opportunity himself, and the top 5 have kind of got a nice little cushion to work with.
Yeah, that is exactly what Petter Pliska wanted to see in his rear view mirrors. Seeing the train behind him fight in and amongst themselves so that he can try to pull a gap. It's almost getting towards 1 second at the moment between Pliska and Price, but Price will try his level best to try and make sure that gap doesn't get too wide, and it starts to contract over the next couple of laps. And well, like you said, the straight line speed of that BMW is so good. That'll help a lot when it comes to making moves into the braking zone of turn number 1 in particular, but it does make him a little bit more vulnerable through the corners where the other drivers, the other manufacturers can carry a little bit more mid-corner speed. So the issue for Price is setting up for the moves rather than executing them properly. Yeah,
100%. It's also being able to indeed defend it as well. You need to be in a position where you've got to brake it just a touch earlier than everyone else around you effectively. There's a late lunge here being made, and that is in the, oh, that does not look good as the McLaren just about holds on to that position. The 2 AMGs proper fighting it out here, and yeah, didn't quite work out there too well there, but the Romanian Neg is going to hold on to what will be P10, and then we have got the number 4 there, which is a Montenegrin in P11, just trying to figure out who that is. Markovic, so Matija Markovic, Montenegrin driver, stays in P11 with the McLaren just positioning the car right. Nearly got absolutely T-boned by the other 2 battling for position. Didn't do a lot wrong, but yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, fantastic stuff here, and well, it's you know, scrapping for those bottom ends of the top 10 sorts of positions here at the moment in and amongst these drivers. Of course, they've still got plenty of time left to go, 25 minutes to be exact, and well, who knows what might happen later on in the race. You know, we might see one of the race leaders again spin themselves around all of their own accord and give up a qualification spot. Maybe I got to hide from Paige now, maybe after saying that. But yeah, things, you know, we had a little bit of a spurt of excitement, at least in the first lap of this one, but everything's starting to calm down just that little bit at this stage as drivers settle themselves into a rhythm. We're seeing some
moves potentially being made a little bit further back. Nico Kramer and Peter Daniel looking, well, potentially to go side by side through Dunlop. Instead, they just end up line astern with Kramer just basically, or rather Daniel just basically pushing that McLaren's nose right into the rear bumper of Mercedes.
Yeah, and it's a tough situation to be in because you're relatively early in this race, but these drivers probably already know that it's going to become very difficult to make it up towards that top 5. So the last thing you want to be doing is getting yourself involved in something that actually takes you out of this position and drops you outside the top 19, as the McLaren is making that move here. So Kramer now down to P15 from 14th position, has got the inside line up towards that final chicane here. Will go late on the brakes here for sure, and I think you'll find it's going to have to leave some room left. Pinched onto the apex though is Kramer, and it's actually a phenomenal move there by the Czech driver, now in P14, although we're coming towards that final corner, and no, Kramer's not going to be able to make that move stick there, and all of a sudden they've got an Audi now joining in and a potential BMW joining in for this party, and this is really what they didn't want. What's the difference between P14 and P15 really at this stage of the race? Not a lot. What's the difference between P14 and P15 then, with another couple of cars also trying to get involved? I say trying to get involved, properly getting involved now. The Audi's going to become the meat in the sandwich here, surely, and he is. So there you go. That all stems from the McLaren and the AMG just fighting for position and inviting other people to get involved in their little battle.
Yeah, there's the battle for P18 here as well, as Rudiger gets forced a little bit wide. Oh, he's maybe going to lose a couple of positions here as he gets swallowed up by the pack a little bit. There's a car off as well. Oh, there's been a big incident here at the very back of the field here, Luke, with multiple drivers involved, Nasik involved. We've got Krevi also trying to go wheel to wheel with the Serbian driver at the moment. And, well, that was a little bit of a mess back there for that final qualification into the last chance race.
Yeah, Frank Van Roon, who was comfortably in that top 19, has now got it all to do here. And as much as, post-race penalties or during the race penalties are indeed going to happen, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't really matter if you're in P24 for you. You still got that hard work to do. You can't expect there to be 5 drivers in front of you that are going to get a penalty. Normally it's just between 2 drivers. So Frank Van Roon now has got to try and make something happen. He's got to make some moves here and get it done very, very quickly indeed. Back up to the leaders. Yarshall still leading. Siggy, Raschel, Gassner and Pliska. They are now about a second clear of P6 as it stands, which is Isaac Price. So Isaac Price then is the one driver just outside of it. And unfortunately, with the battle or with the pressure that is happening from behind here, he's very much struggling to go forward this race because he's having to go defensive through so many corners. Again, in that very Sheldon van der Linde looking car. Is Isaac Price. Shout out to Sheldon. What a beautiful human he is, indeed. But yeah, Isaac Price needs to get something working here. He's done the hard work, though, early in this race. He's got a couple of positions, but it's all about now just trying to chase down that front 5 and put himself in a spot where he can pile the pressure on and maybe nab one of those final qualifying positions.
I had the idea pop into my mind to do a South African accent because you mentioned Van der Linde, but I won't subject the viewers that we have to that. I don't want to lose a good 2/3 of everyone by doing that. But yeah, of course, fantastic drivers, both for the Van der Lindes, both in sim racing and of course in real motorsports as well. So there we go. Christopher Högfeldt, we're seeing him in that yellow Mercedes at the moment. His job is just basically lock onto the back of Isaac Price and hope Price basically brings the both of them up to Peter Pilsker. I don't know if Christopher Högfeldt has the pace to try and get one back on Price at the moment. But, at least he can use him to try and bring him up to some other drivers.
Yeah, it is as simple as that, really. This is where the hard work needs to be done. You've at the early stages of the race, you're either trying to stop someone from getting past you, or you're grinding to try and get a position in front of you, and they've become relatively easy opportunities, or indeed easier to keep people behind you. But at this stage of the race now, it's a different objective. You've got to just keep grinding apex. You've got to take every corner as it comes and try and maximize the time through every single corner to try and bridge that gap, because ultimately here, Connery, these drivers have all qualified. You see sometimes in motorsport, there's a disparity between the quickest driver and indeed maybe the slowest driver on the grid. In this, there's hundreds of seconds between, the top 10. There's tenths of a second between the first and the 56th qualifier for this event today. So you know that whoever's in front of you or whoever's behind you is no mug. It is just minimal gains, and you've got to just grind it down, and grind it down. It's as simple as that.
And that's the exact task that Isaac Price is looking at the moment, as we see Raschel have a little look down the inside of Siggy here. Siggy, so despite the fantastic qualifying performance a little bit earlier on, doesn't seem to have it hooked up as far as race pace is concerned here today. He's lost almost 2 seconds to Yarshell at the moment, so it seems like the McLaren struggling a little bit when it comes to racing mode. And of course, it allows Yarshell to potentially get this opportunity to get up into P2, but both these drivers need to remember that, well, it was fighting for the race lead that meant that Page wasn't able to qualify in the last heat. They don't want to be that driver in this heat.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. I'm really impressed with Yarshell here. I cannot believe that the difference between Siggy and P2 was the same difference between P2 and P10. Like 2.5 tenths of a second. That's how impressive the qualifying phase for this race was for Siggy. But he's, well, succumbed to Yarshell's pressure into turn number 1. And here we go. Yarshell's taking this opportunity with both hands and absolutely driving away. We've got here MT Design there shouting out the Montenegro driver then in P11. Good to see you in the chat. Welcome. Good to see Montenegro represented in this as well. Here's Markovic himself, their MRS esports team. Again, in a relatively comfortable position to be in that P6 to P19, which means we will see them for race number 3 today. But again, for people who've just tuned in, there are 2 races happening today. Indeed, in terms of heats, we've already had race number 1 where the top 5 from each of those qualify through to our DTM ESPORTS 2022 Championship. And then there is a 3rd race. This is the 2nd race. The 3rd race is a last chance qualifier. So in both races, 6th position down to 19th will both qualify for that last chance qualifier. And then there's one more race where the top 4 will also advance to our championship. So 14 drivers will make it here today. As we see then a potential move being made around the outside. Is it going to happen? No, it's not. So Neg just holding on there. And Markovic trying to get himself into that top 10. Piling on that pressure. It is indeed McLaren versus AMG here through turn number 2. It's a lovely move here by Markovic, by the way, to find himself a little bit of a room on the inside. Hits that apex, runs it a little bit wide there. An aggressive block pass, I would say. But really, when you've got a field so strong as it is here, you've got to take some chances. Neg's going to be furious with how that's gone down, but it's not the worst move I've ever seen in the world here. The Romanian, though, trying to reciprocate at the first time of asking, not quite going to do so. Markovic making Montenegro very proud right now.
It's funny how you can get the mood of the drivers from their driving style. Sometimes it's pretty crazy how that happens, but you're absolutely right. Neg certainly wasn't going to give that one up without a fight, but sometimes you just have to learn to try and cut your losses and slide in behind, lest you risk other drivers like, for example, Leonard Carton, who's in the back of this battle, to try and gain that position off of you as well. So that's, well, Mihai Neg in P11 at the moment. This is all kind of a little bit for show at the moment, all things considered, because remember, everyone from P6 and P19 are going to, get themselves qualified into that last chance qualifier. The exact ordering in this race doesn't matter all that much, given that we'll have another qualifying session. But yeah, I mean, I guess they're just giving us a little bit of a show at this stage as we look back towards the top 3. And, well, Yarshell certainly not giving Siggy a lot of breathing room.
I'm not sure I think it's really important, to be honest with you there, Connery. I understand if it was P2 and P3 like we're seeing right now, if you make an overtake there, it's a bit more for show, isn't it? Because you're very comfortably in the qualifying spot. But ultimately, if you can get one over on your competitor in P10 and 11 like we've just seen there, you've got to race them again. So if you find yourself in 5th position and that driver in front of you that you've just been able to overtake in a previous race is ahead of you, they're going to be worried because they know that you are good enough to make an overtake. So I think it's important to, especially those drivers that are in the top 10 or top 12, they're comfortably in the top 12 because the group of cars behind them are 4 seconds? 4 seconds is the difference between 12th and 13th. So you've got a bit of breathing room from them. So I think it's really important.
Look at this, though. Of course, there is an element of the sort of psychological advantage going on, but just moving topics very, very briefly here, because Isaac Price, he's caught up this gap up to Petr Pilska. Now, I don't know if Pilska made a mistake or anything on that on the previous couple of laps. I don't know whether this has been that or just Price has been able to work this gap in bit by bit by bit, grinding it away, like you said a little bit earlier on, Luke. But either way, no matter how he's done it, and now he's in a position where he could potentially have a look at trying to get past Pilska over the next couple of laps, and he has half the race to do so as well.
Yeah, for sure. He's got to get something done here. We've got Nigel Barber in the chat saying Price doing well for a privateer. Isaac Price is he is like part of the furniture of sim racing at this point. He's one of the very OGs in terms of being one of the best. He was a Williams esports driver for a good chunk of years as well. So he's no slouch, that's for sure. And a lot of these drivers will have teammates that they would have been able to train with. Isaac Price knows enough people to be able to find a couple of people to train with. He'll be fine. Yes, he's probably the most experienced driver in terms of a privateer, if you like. He's kind of a fake privateer at this stage, just because of what he's won, how he's performed, and how consistent he's been over the years.
Yeah, I really couldn't have put it better myself. Team or no team, Isaac Price is still a force to be reckoned with. You simply can't underestimate him. And Pilsker would be looking in his wing mirrors right now, just thinking, "Oh no, I have Price behind me. How am I going to try and defend this one?" That's not it though. As Pilsker gets a little bit squirrely off of turn number 1, that's going to be another 1/10 of a second lost at least. And now Price is in prime position to be able to get this done at some point on this circuit. It's just a matter of where.
Yeah, for sure. Also, you've got to be careful, because what we saw in race number 1, do not burn those tyres out. Pile the pressure on, force a mistake, sure, but don't put yourself in a position that you might be, struggling to keep the 5 or 6 cars that are now behind you if they come at you later in the race, because ultimately it's going to be difficult to make an overtake. It's going to cost you time, and you might get swallowed up by the drivers behind. So you've got to be very calculated here. But like we said, Isaac Price is just ridiculous. He is relentless. He is one of the very best. So expected to be calculated, expected to go down nice, expected to go down concisely, if you like. If there's anyone that you can almost guarantee is going to find a way to qualify in a competition like this with the format we have, probably Isaac Price. So yeah, this is going to be interesting to see how it goes down.
Yeah, I certainly think so. And like I said, he's in prime position now to try and get himself inside the top 5 to save the whole stressful situation that will be that last chance qualifier at the end of the day. He certainly has the capabilities. It's just all about the execution now. And Pilsker, what can he do as far as the defense is concerned of this top 5 at finishing position? It's going to be a bit of a struggle, I get the feeling. I think Price is starting to come into his own now, but anything can happen in motorsports. And Pilsker trying to make sure that he's the one that's in that final qualification spot, and Price is forced to go through the last chance.
I'll tell you one thing here, Pilsker, if he gets put into a position where he has to defend really harshly, he absolutely will. There's going to be fireworks between these two. Don't get that twisted. But you see Price here makes a mistake, runs wide, but Pilsker goes in defensively, so he's also lost time. So right now Hogveld just needs to, he's the key driver here, P7, put in some flying laps right now, put in some qualifying times right now, get right onto the back of that BMW. Something is going to happen between the two in front of them. There's too much on the line. Getting into that top 5 is massive. And then you've got Pilsker that it's just not going to let anything happen. It's as simple as that. He will make that AMG as wide as possible. So for me right now, Hogveld, it's one of those. You don't want to be getting to work tomorrow or, in a Discord group chat with your mates thinking, there was just, if I just did this, if I just did that. You've got to leave everything out there right now. You've got guaranteed yourself by being in this position another race today. Okay, so you can then try and get into that top 4 there. Try and do it now. Try and get that top 5 now. Take a chance, because these two are going to slow each other down at some point.
Yeah, I get the feeling that you're absolutely right here as we ride on the back of Petter Pilsker, looking at that BMW, which is, I was going to say started to bear down on him. It's been like that for the past 2 laps or so for the moment. But either way, looking very, very threatening is that BMW behind. And, Pilsker got to make that Mercedes the widest Mercedes ever here at the Nürburgring. But even that might not be enough if Price gets a good run and is able to complete moves on the brakes here. Looking up in towards the MGK chicane, not your typical overtaking opportunity here is this one. So you're just going to have to wait and look to try and get a run through the final couple of corners to be able to at least get alongside down in towards turn number 1. Price is driving it in to that final corner to try and gain as much time possible and carry that momentum onto the straight. Here we go.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pilsker has to give up on the idea of making up any more positions here. Look at the speed advantage for Price. And Pliska moves onto the inside line again, going defensively through here, really hurts you on the exit. Look at Price though, Price not able to get that power down. It's such a, the center of gravity of the BMW is so difficult to get going. In the background then we've got the Italian and indeed, of course, there's always a Hungarian battling for P8 as well. Side-by-side action. This is only going to hurt them in terms of trying to get up towards the top 5, but with 10 minutes to go, if you're not taking chances now, when are you going to take chances then? Ottaviani then is just by squeezes Nagy onto the 8. Look how squirrely Ottaviani is, still going down then, down towards turn number 5, and who's going to come out here ahead? Brilliant stuff then from Nagy, pinches the Italian onto the apex, has that inside line for the downhill, right-hander, and it's still going to be side-by-side. I tell you what, this is brilliant stuff from both of them. Nagy just about has his nose ahead. No, he doesn't. It is Ottaviani then who's just about ahead here, down towards the hairpin. You know Nagy's going for it for sure here. Clips that apex, runs a little bit wide, takes the optimum line, and is the job done yet? It's just about done. Ottaviani there gets sent onto the curb, not able to keep that power down. And wow, what a show those two have just put on.
What a brilliant little sequence between the battle for P8 there. That was incredible. Great racecraft between the two, leaving each other space where required. And, well, in the end, it is Nagy that comes out on top in that one. Ottaviani, though, he'll keep himself within the slipstream at least here. Maybe he'll be able to have a response in the final 9 minutes of this race. But that came upon us all of a sudden, didn't it, Luke, between those two? It's absolutely fantastic to see, and it, well, proves that you can have an extended side-by-side fight here at the Nürburgring GP circuit. Having a look back towards the battle for that fifth and last qualification spot between Pliska and Price. Gap still 0.4 of a second. I don't think Price is going to have the run down in towards turn number 1 this time, just that little bit too far back, a little bit further back than he was last lap. Which hopefully isn't a trend that Price will start to see here, but still 8.5 minutes left to go.
Yeah, and for me right now, it's very dangerous now for Price because he's got a car behind him. But again, someone who has been in this position hundreds of times before, this more than likely is intentional, just waiting for the opportunity, although just lost a bit of time there to Pliska. Pliska, who's burst onto the scene over the last sort of 18 months really within race room. It maybe has something to prove here, to have a feather in his cap, beating Isaac Price and getting that final qualifying position for this eSports Championship, that would be massive. Isaac Price has actually just fallen off ever so slightly here, so all that hard work, he's got to do it once again. It's going to take a good couple of laps to get really back involved here for the battle, and with only 7 minutes 40 seconds to go, it's becoming increasingly more difficult here.
Yeah, it is fewer and fewer chances to get yourself through. The closer we get to the checkered flag here, and Isaac Price will certainly be well aware of that fact. Högfeldt has reeled them in just that little bit over the last couple of laps as well, so Price has to be looking behind as well, which is not the ideal situation. He'll be wanting to have that car ahead as his one and only focus, but now he's in the middle of a sandwich here. It just gets all the more difficult for the British driver, the only British driver in this race, of course. And, with, like you said, 7 minutes left to go now, handful of laps remaining. Pliska's looking pretty good right now. He had that bit of a wobbly moment a couple of laps ago where Price was really all over his rear bumper, but he's just got a tiny bit more breathing room now. That might be all that's required, but he's still going to have to be defensive down in towards turn 1.
Yeah, I said it was going to take a couple of laps. It hasn't. It's taken half a lap. But Isaac Price is right behind him again, and it's a case of, is he going for it there? As much as Isaac Price is an experienced campaigner, that's a mistake there. He's gone for a move too early, which has actually cost him time, and now brought the Scandinavian Högfeldt back involved here. So the Swede driver, is almost a bigger challenger than Price is to Pliska right now, because he's an unknown quantity. So these two have been battling for lap after lap. Price has not sent one up the inside, so Pliska kind of knows that, he's not really close enough to make an opportunity. He needs to be a lot closer for him to make that opportunity. But now Högfeldt's involved here. They have no idea. They have absolutely no idea as to, what he is capable of. So this is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I think so too. There's still lots of untold stories here in this particular battle, and it'll all happen in the final 6 minutes that we have to run. Price continuing to drive that BMW, up to the rear bumper of the Mercedes through the Dunlop hairpin at the very bottom of the track elevation here before you start climbing up through the Michael Schumacher S's. And, well, Högfeldt, you know, he's sort of waiting in the wings here. He's waiting to see what happens with these front two. It's going to be pretty risky if he tries to pull a fast one on Isaac Price here and try and get past him without Price potentially getting involved with Pilska, because any extended fight with Price here for Högfeldt would mean that both of them potentially don't get themselves inside the top 5 because they'll lose time to Pilska.
The key word you use there is wait. He hasn't got time to wait, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
5 minutes to go here. You've got to take that opportunity on. You've got to force something. You've got to maybe think, oh, I'll tell you what, Pliska's had a terrible exit through the chicane, which is actually going to open up an opportunity here. And Price, don't try and make a move now. Oh, he's on a power. Oh, it's a brilliant exit. He's almost pushed Pliska along. And now, by the time they get down in towards turn number 1, I think Price has got to go early here to try and move down that inside. Not going to get an opportunity. Pliska just slowly moves over, and now he is going to be very slow on this exit. But look at Högfeldt here. Högfeldt is going to try and take advantage of any potential contact. Pliska has to leave that room on the outside, and Isaac Price then not got any room to dive up the inside. Pliska positioning that Mercedes perfectly there to hold on to this position. I told you there was going to be fireworks, Connery. Well, there's sparks coming up the back of the cars, and this is not over yet for sure.
That was a very, very good recovery there from Pilska. He pushed Price out as far as is allowed, I will say, there in that situation. He still gave a car's width of space on the outside of the track so that if Price had the tyre performance, he would still be able to try and bring it alongside and maybe send it down the inside of turn 2. But he just got a little bit of snap oversteer, and he wasn't able to make it happen with a late move into turn 2. So the status quo is maintained here, Luke, but that was the first shot across the bow as far as Isaac Price is concerned. I wonder how many more we'll get before this race is done.
Well, I don't think he's properly sent one yet, has he? You know, he's had opportunities where he could, you know, maybe get on the brakes 10 meters later and really force the issue. That is yet to happen right now. Also, if you're Isaac Price, you're probably thinking you've got the pace to go through in a last chance qualifier as well. You've always got that in your back pocket. So is it worth taking any chances? Probably not. But yeah, I don't think he's quite showed his hand as of yet. Does he have the pocket aces? It's Isaac Price. More than likely he does, but I think you've got to give a lot of credit here to Pliska. Pliska's done a sensational job of keeping that AMG in front. It's a fair play to him. Up towards that final chicane we come again, and this is where Pliska made a mistake. And we've seen it tends to be the AMGs that struggle with their tyre wear at the end of the race. It's kind of those are the cars we're seeing being squirrely on exits more than any other car. But he seems to have figured out this time. Price is definitely not as close as he was previously, although Price maybe was a little bit too close last time round. There was a bit of contact on the exit and almost pushed Pliska along down this straight. But again, Pliska's going to move to that inside line. And actually, he doesn't really need too much. So he's going to be able to open up turn number 1. And Price is going to have to live the fight another day. 2 laps remaining here, Connery. And again, I think we're going to see something happen at some point. But is it going to be Price, or are we going to see a surprise here? And Högfeldt maybe comes out with something miraculous.
Pliska has done very, very well here, up against some very stiff competition indeed. Price is just applying the pressure on every single one of these corners. You know, I've seen a couple of times down into Dunlop that he's just drove it all the way in, just almost making contact with the rear bumper of the Mercedes. But Pliska hasn't, you know, flinched at all. Oh, Pliska getting himself a little bit out of shape, coming through the right-hander there. Thankfully, it hasn't lost him a lot of time, and Price also had a little bit of trouble keeping hold of the car.
Yeah, you're so excited there. You got about 4 different words into one with trying to say Pliska's name. That was brilliant. And yeah, that just shows exactly how much you are engaged with sim racing. Fantastic to see. And it puts a smile on my face here. But Pliska is struggling again. AMG probably over the course of a lap here, probably the quicker of the cars. But I really do think that in the dying embers of a race, 30 minutes long, that the BMWs, maybe the McLarens, have just got a little bit more in terms of their tyre wear. Unless you're Yarshall. Yarshall is the exception to that rule. He's just driving on magic at this point, 2.6 seconds in the lead. Again, Yarshall, Siggy, Ratchell, Gassner, they're all looking absolutely, well, they've punched their golden ticket effectively, unless there's any mistakes in the offering. We've already seen one mistake today from Marko Pajic, but it is going to come down to a last lap shootout here, we believe. Pliska, can he get that power down around the final corner? It really is the vital corner, really. Get on the power nice and early, so you're indeed not going to be under too much pressure down into turn number 1. That's the furthest wide we've actually seen Pliska go, and it's really nicely done. which again, there's a lovely little gap to work with here. He knows that Isaac Price isn't going to dive him because of the previous laps here. He knows the capabilities of that car, but now Price is going to have to go the long way round here. This is opening the door then for Hogveld. Hogveld now is potentially going to come and get involved here with Price. Price rejoins then and clatters into the side of the Swede, and that is it's on the limit there, really, of poor sportsmanship. He went off the circuit. He needs to take care in his rejoin. It looks like they're all in the same position here. But again, the real winner in this situation is Peter Pliska.
Yeah, because the overtaking opportunity, well, that turn number 1 and the subsequent corners are the biggest opportunity that you have to get by at this circuit. The rest of the lap, it's a little bit more of a struggle. Not impossible, of course, but especially if you get a mistake involved in there. Out of this hairpin, Pliska might get himself struggling with the traction again.
Yeah, this is the last chance, really. It's the slowest exit speed corner we have until the end of this lap, or throughout the whole lap here. Pliska's done a sensational job, considering 3 laps ago, it was almost like he was on ice getting out of corners. He's done brilliantly well here. The corners just aren't slow enough now, really, for Isaac Price to maybe outbrake or indeed try and make something happen on the exit. It's been brilliant from Pliska. Price tried to make the move into that hairpin, into turn number 1. It just did not work out. We head then on towards our leader. It's been, again, relatively simple for the lead of this race. Just got into the lead at the start, put pressure on Siggy. Siggy was not able to hold on to the position. Luckily, it's top 5. P5 means exactly the same as P1, really. Tim Yarshall, though, again, has set his stall. He has posted a statement here, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Yarshall wants to get the dub. He wants to get the job done. He wants to win this championship, but he has booked his ticket as first seed then from race number 2. Siggy is going to finish in 2nd. Rachel, Gassner are going to finish in 3rd and 4th. And I tell you what, fair play to Peter Pliska. It's a sensational drive. He's not only got himself a top 5, but it's how he has done it. He knows now that when it comes to the actual esports championship moving forward here, Connery, if someone or one of the best drivers in the world are behind him, he can keep them behind. Very, very good performance indeed.
Yeah, that was a great defensive effort from Pliska. Usually it's the flashy overtakes, the sends, the up and unders that get all of the attention and, become part of the highlight reel. It's very rare that good defenses the praises are sung of them. And, I think we have to really praise Pliska in this situation to be able to hold on to that final qualification spot from this heat into the 2022 DTM eSports season. There's the recap of the results.
Tim Yarshall takes the victory. Then we've got Siggy, Rachel, we've got Gassner and Pliska. That's your top 5. They are automatically going to make it through. Of course, there may be some stewards' inquiries. I didn't see anything with the top 5 specifically that could have been, questioned. And then we go down to Kraevi, who's just got himself into that top 19. So the Finn, we are going to see them back. Unfortunately, Barna is not always going to be a Hungarian for that driver, unfortunately, out in top 20. So remember, 6th down to 19th are making it through to our very next race. Last chance qualifier. And then you've got a few drivers there. Unfortunately, Nesic with the DNF. Hopefully, we'll see them back for the next phase. Frank Van Roon was never really able to recover from the incident they had earlier on in the race, which is a huge shame. And Gregor Hudjek, who I personally would have expected a little bit more from. We will probably see them back for sure. But what a top 5 we have. Again, just to reiterate, Yarshall, Siggy, Rachel, Gassner and Pliska, they have booked their tickets to the grid for the DTM eSports 2022. What an incredible set of drivers we've got. We've got 10 drivers so far, Connery, and realistically, there's not too many surprises. It's kind of the drivers you would expect to be seeing going through, but that's whet my appetite for the actual series coming up next month.
Yeah, it really has. If we get battling like that, if we get incredibly tense situations just like that one towards the ends there, then the next season's going to be absolutely fantastic. Even just based off of these shootout rounds, this is just the qualification process into the DTM eSports, and yet we're seeing some absolutely brilliant racing. So it does look like you can be very optimistic when it comes to the main season starting in February, of course. But we still got one race to go here, Luke, though. We've still got that last chance qualifier, P6 through 19 of both of the races so far will get themselves involved in another race. And, we'll see another group of drivers get themselves through to the coming season.
Absolutely. 2 races down, 10 drivers booking their tickets to our DTM Esports 2022 grid. And we've got one more last chance qualifier race. 28 drivers, only 4 spots. Only 4 drivers can make it through. And well, if you want to know maybe what happened last time in the esports, let's check out the highlights from the last esports championship we had just over a year ago.
Will he pin the apex? No, he's overshot it. Lerner will take the lead, and Lerner's waiting for the last second. Keighley's going to get second. Keighley's going to get second. What a finish here, Connery. No, Timo Glock. So Timo Glock right now is earning... Oh, no, contact there. That's not good at all. Yeah, Nuninghoff and Pinches. Nuninghoff is back up into the lead here.
Well, hold on, what's going on? Yarshall's made a mistake here. So Yarshall dropping down. Yarshall's now P10. Oh, no, there you go. Ivanov.
Nuninghoff has gone here. Adam Pinches has also gone here. Oh, he's on the circle. Oh, big smash there. Big crash. The long run down towards Blanchimont. He's up the inside line, getting squeezed onto the apex then by Nuninghoff. Ziyovsky trying to get involved too as well. Nuninghoff late on the brakes here. Will he pin the apex? No, he's overshot it. Lerner will take the lead, and Lerner's waiting for the last second. Keighley's going to get second. Keighley's going to get second. What a finish here, Connery. Maurice Lerner takes the victory. Keighley second.
Uses the curb to rotate the car. Contact once again between the two, but I think Jimmer might have the run here. Not quite. Oh.
So Kelvin's just going to lose that to Nuninghoff.
And as you can see, Nuninghoff has waited and waited and waited. He's closed up here ever so gradually, underneath the rear wing. Runs out wide then through turn number 1. And wow, he's going to go for the switchback here. Keithley runs out wide. He will now automatically have the inside line for the next 2 corners. You can see him fighting with the oversteer of the car there, using the curb to rotate the car as well. Turn 12, lap number 2. So maybe he did have contact between the two, and he's using the pit lane here for Ivanov. Ivanov trying to make the move up the inside to turn 1.
Fight with Bedin here. Bedin with the up and under coming through Lecombe. Oh, Ivanov got crossed up.
Genuine push to pass. That might be called there. A little bit of a love tap. And, well, he couldn't get the move done initially. Down towards turn 1, though, he has. Jimmy Broadbent around the outside. Battle. Oh, Timo Glock there running out wide. You can see Kelvin van der Linde's looking on here, thinking, oh, a couple of positions potentially here. Romanidis then looking for a late lunge up the inside. Kelvin van der Linde then just about holding onto the car. He's in behind Timo Glock. And Romanidis, well, Romanidis is up the inside, so Romanidis is indeed going to momentarily get a position. And Kelvin
then in P2, he's got the inside line then through the second part of the chicane, and well, very aggressively there, puts Jack Keithley almost off the circuit, and this will be for the lead of the pro ring.
Couple of errors. Oh, yeah, there's, well, I've jinxed it.
Then try to find a move here as well. Round the outside for Yuyovsky. Yuyovsky did not qualify in race number 1, but now he loses out here for second spot. And Lerner will take the checkered flag here at Spielberg. What a finish here, Connery. And you can see it there, the relief. He knows that he is the DTM Esports 2020 champion.
Well then, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back there. There's some highlights from the 2020 season, the inaugural DTM Esports Championship, actually, where Moritz Lerner was our champion, went on to indeed become I guess he's become our little poster boy for the sim racing community. He's now representing Vulcanhorse Motorsport, Media Markt, sponsoring the car, indeed in the DTM Trophy. We will be seeing him for another season this year as well. And well, who is going to be the next driver? Because the top 5 in the official championship will indeed go to a sighting event in the 2022 calendar of the DTM season, and one of those drivers is going to be chosen, handpicked, and indeed going to get themselves an opportunity for a full paid season in the DTM Trophy 2023. So super exciting for these drivers. My name is Luke Crane, commentator for the DTM Trophy, so I'm super excited for that, and I am joined by Connery Maddock. What a day we've had so far, Connery, but it's not over yet. One more race to go.
It's been incredible. Like you said, as far as this last race is concerned, anything can happen. We've seen 2 pretty crazy heat races so far with drama for the final qualification spots. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a similar thing happen again here. Remember, of course, it works a little bit differently here in this final last chance qualifier race. It's not the top 5, it is the top 4 that get themselves qualified for the 2022 DTM Esports season. So yeah, only 4 drivers from this race will be able to get themselves through. And it's going to be, well, quite hot competition for those top 4 spots. Let me tell you that, because we have some names in here that, well, narrowly missed out on their chance to get in through that heat racing system. We have Jack Heathley in here. We have, of course, Pajic, who basically threw it all away at the end of heat number 1. We have Isaac Price, who, despite his best efforts in the previous heat, still wasn't able to get one over Pilsker, so he's in this race as well. So there's well, there's a lot of drivers that are feeling like, well, this is my last chance today to try and get through, and they want to try and save their reputations a little bit, because some of them, we know they're some of the fastest drivers on Race Room, but that doesn't mean a lot when you don't get yourself qualified on the first time of asking.
Yeah, Dorniden is someone very similarly to Isaac Price. Sometimes maybe gets outclassed in terms of raw pace, but he is someone that just tends to get the job done. He's like a postman. He always delivers, unless they don't, which is very rare. But yeah, Alexander Dorniden, great bloke, great guy, really relaxed driver as well, and he'll be licking his lips at this opportunity, that's for sure, who we're on board with right now. Purple through the first 2 sectors. You can see where it says S1 and S2. Purple means he's faster than absolutely everybody. So we're guaranteed to see him go P1 right now, because he's the first across the line. How long will that last? Well, I think it's going to last for the first set of laps, for the very sure. And he comes across the line as a 54.780, and actually, well, it's not his time. Dorniden, he does a 54.5. So, yeah, not really setting the world alight in terms of times. As Jack Keithley then posts a 54.4. You're expecting to see the times be a little bit slower than the first 2 races. I don't think the passage of qualification through to our championship is going to be any easier, despite the pace difference. That's for sure. It's going to be a hard-fought, frantic race. Isaac Price yet to get a lap time in, but one of the favourites for sure, Keithley, who we thought Connery, should I say, we thought would qualify through race number 1, who didn't, was Jack Keithley, showing that, not really too despondent to that and producing the onions when they need to.
Yeah, and well, with the clear air pace that he's shown, starting P1, yeah, definitely the best place to be. I know that's the most obvious statement I'll ever make all day, but it's better when you have a car that's fast in clear air, and you're a driver that's fast in clear air and not bothered with traffic. Then that's obviously going to really work out in your favour, as long as you get a good start through the first sector. That's the main thing for Jack Keithley, if he's able to carry this pole position into the actual starting of the race. But Isaac Price across the line, starting P10 at the moment. Again, not quite ideal for Isaac Price.
He aborted the lap.
Oh, did he?
He went wide into the final corner to open it up, so he had maximum speed along the start-finish straight for this lap. So yeah, and it's still good enough for what was P10 at the time, P11 now. So yeah, it's a banker time. He's got himself in there, and actually he's coming. Oh, he doesn't like the first sector. He's got to get out now. There's no alternative. He's got to do a full out lap before he can indeed get another lap time in. We're on board with Pajic, then Pajic P3, and like I was saying earlier, we've got Jack Keithley, we've got Dorniden, we've got Pajic, and we've got Isaac Price. All 4 of those drivers are very well known for always getting the job done. When it's a qualification process to get into a championship, you always see them get that job done. There's only 4 positions available. One of them fails, then they haven't got it done. It's simple as that. So it's a lot of pressure off everybody outside of that. I think you've got to be looking at someone like Witvert, who is currently in P5. We've got Pinches. There's always a Hungarian. Will we see one go through today as well? It's all about those sort of drivers, just maybe outside of, and I wouldn't say by pace, they're outside of that level just because they haven't been around as long as drivers such as Price, such as Dorniden, such as Keithley. And again, I don't want to get hung up on these names. It's names that we've seen for many, many years. As we see now, Marko Pajic produce a purple sector number 1 as he's through sector number 2 here. But it becomes a little bit more difficult to beat those drivers because you know what they're capable of, and maybe you would suffer with nerves more by being with them on the grid because you know they're more than likely going to put their best qualifying lap time in. They're not going to feel the pressure as much as you are. That weighs on your mind as a driver.
Yeah, it's just a simple matter of experience, isn't it? It's, the more times you've put yourself in this situation, the more that you're going to get used to it. That is just a fact of life. And for these drivers that have been around the block for a good number of years, it doesn't feel completely routine doing one of these races, but they know what to expect, right? For some of the more inexperienced drivers, as we see Marco Pejic go pole position here, at least provisionally in this qualifying session. But for those more inexperienced drivers, this might be one of the first times that you get to race in an event as big as this, and it's not even the main season yet. So, there's certainly that element of pressure, and you might start making mistakes that you would never make in practice.
One thing that I think the drivers who raced in race number 1 have an advantage here, because for me, they've had a chance to get rid of any potential issues that they may have had in race number 1 out their system. Also, there is a huge difference between qualifying laps and a race lap. So if you've just finished a race, you're still in race mode, right? So your brain, as much as you're going to be thinking, I need to attack this like a qualifying session, your brain isn't going to quite be at qualifying pace yet, because you're still so used to the 30-minute race you've just done. You can't get rid of that in a couple of minutes. So there's no surprise to me that the front 3 here are from race number 1. Isaac Price, who's now got one opportunity effectively to get a lap time in, is just starting his lap here. We've got Rudinger, who's currently in P6. As much as I was saying that being around top 8, top 10 in race number 1 and race number 2 was vital, I think here, Connery, you've got to have that insurance in the back of your mind that you're starting in the top 4 here. I think qualifying is the most important in this race than it has been during the whole race day so far.
Ottaviani just about getting himself inside that top 4 there. So, just over 2/10 of a second behind your race leader. Pejic only has pole position by 400ths here at the moment. That's how close these drivers are in terms of pace compared to each other. We're continuing to watch Isaac Price circulate, because as these final flying laps have come through, he's continued to drop further down the order. Like you said, he aborted his first attempt at this, and now this is going to be the only attempt he's going to try and get himself a little bit higher on the starting grid here today. P15 at the moment, looking for at least comfortably inside of the top 10. Obviously, the closer to that top 4 he gets, the better. He's personal best through Sector 1 and Sector 2 at the moment, and a Sector 3, I think he might be able to get this one in. Of course, the results do show a little bit early here in race room sometimes. Let's see what happens with Isaac Price as he heads his way across the line. There's Marco Pejic, and it's 3rd place for Price. 3rd place.
Wow. That is a pressure lap there. Isaac Price, again, showcasing his skill set from race number 2, completely making what I've said look very, very silly indeed, which is not difficult, if we're going to be completely honest. But a fantastic lap all the same. But qualifying is indeed for show. Race is for dough. So we're about to see exactly how important that was there. But we saw that he could make overtakes in race number 1 for him, or race number 2 for us earlier on. So starting outside the top 4 wouldn't have been the biggest headache for him ever. Starting P3, brilliant stuff from him. He is super, super happy with that for sure. And yeah, just starting in the qualifying positions just takes a little bit of pressure off of you. Great stuff from Isaac Price. But there you have it, 24 drivers we've got here. It becomes very difficult for the drivers that are, P24 through to maybe, 10th. I think top 10 really of the drivers that are looking to get into that top 4. It becomes very difficult outside of that. But if there's a big scrap, if there's a big a load of chaos, you never know. It is a 30-minute race after all, Connery. We've got 6 minutes or 6.5 minutes now for these drivers to just warm up, get themselves in, a happy place effectively to go into race here. This is the last chance for a lot of these drivers. We will probably see a lot of them come back for qualifying day 2, but some of these drivers will not, they don't want to leave it to the chance there, because maybe you don't get into that top 56 next time round. Maybe this is your last opportunity and you don't know it yet. You've got to leave everything out there.
Got to. You're absolutely right. I couldn't have said it better myself. And, well, with the qualifying the way it is right now, of course, the top 4 were Pejic, Keithley, Price and Dornaden. All drivers that were certainly very capable of getting themselves through in their heats. So they're going to be locking out the front couple of rows here. Högfeldt, he's the driver missing out on the top 4 position at the moment. He'll start in 5th place, but it's still a good starting spot for Högfeldt to try and capitalize on any shenanigans that might happen on the start. Ottaviani will start in 6th here as well, and he's certainly a very capable driver, is the Italian there. So I don't think that top 4 can really be too comfortable in the race start here. They've got a row full of very comfortable and competent drivers, and also even further back through the top 10 with Rudinger, Pinces, Nagy, Wittvogt. All those drivers on a good day can get themselves a podium spot. I can't wait for this one, and we've got about 5.5 minutes to wait before we get ourselves the gridding procedure underway here, Luke, but this one's going to be pretty tense, I get the feeling.
Yeah, you say that Ottaviani is someone that you expected to do well. For me, it wasn't. Like I think that every competition there's a surprise driver, and for me, that qualifying performance is a surprise from Ottaviani. I think there's always one driver that maybe at the start of it, when fans or team members are looking at it, you're looking at drivers that potentially could come out of nowhere and be quicker than you, and you've never driven against them before. I don't think any Ottaviani would have been in many people's radar. So for me, it's a huge surprise. But there's always one driver that will take that opportunity with both hands. They will not care about anyone else's reputation, and they're on their way to building a reputation. Of course, everybody starts somewhere. Ultimately, the Joshua Rogers of the world, the Bono Houses of the world, the Jarno Opmeers. They weren't around, they weren't around at one point. They had their first ever esports race at one point, there's always a driver out there that's trying to make a name for themselves. So you can't always rest on your laurels and expect it to be the same drivers that come through. So yeah, I'm super pumped to see the Italian Ottaviani here, and I wish him all of the absolute best, but it looks like he's got it all. He's not going to be worried about what I'm saying. He's got it all in his own hands here and doing a sensational job. 4 minutes to go, Connery. Again, going to talk to the chat here on YouTube. I can see you. I can see you all watching right now. I want you to let me know who you're supporting, and I want you to let me know where you're watching from around the world. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the DTM YouTube channel. You will actually be able to catch not only the action from the DTM esports, but there's so much content they post, all of the support races for DTM. It depends where you are watching from around the world in terms of being region locked as well. But for the most part, you get to watch DTM Trophy, you get to watch DTM Classics and all sorts. If you're watching on the DTM website as well, make sure you bookmark the website. It's free to do ultimately. We've got some amazing action coming your way in 2022. 3 minutes to go, Connery. There's going to be a lot of nerves going around, right? All of these drivers have had one race. Some of them will be able to deal with the fact that they've got rid of their adrenaline and nerves in race number one for them. There's other drivers that will I suffer with nerves quite a lot, actually, especially with my legs. My legs feel like they're shaking when I'm in a sim race, when it means something. Some of these drivers will be able to deal with it a lot better. The more experienced drivers, of course. What are going to be going through the drivers' heads right now?
There's possibly going to be quite a bit of Christian Horner leg tapping going on, not only from the drivers, but maybe from some support staff that the drivers might have as part of their teams. But I think, there's a lot of pressure on this race, of course. But remember, we've mentioned it before, we do have another shootout yet to come. So this isn't the be-all and end-all. Of course, it would be nice to get through in the first time of asking. I mean, I said that with regards to the heats a little bit earlier on, but it also applies to this race as well. You don't want to have that unknown hanging over your head coming into the second shootout if you're not able to qualify here today, because that's even more pressure on those potentially 2 races that you'll have to do in that second shootout. And again, when you're under that much pressure, some drivers, they do really, really crack, and you don't want to put yourself in that situation, so go get it done now.
Yeah, for sure. And there'll be drivers out there like Payich who did crack, in race number one, and you've got to put that right. This is your last opportunity, and I fully expect someone of his ilk and his experience to be doing that. It's as simple as that. But that will always be in the back of his head. He knows that in the last few minutes of the race, if he's in P4, someone makes an overtake on him, he has that in his locker to make a mistake that could cost him the chance of qualifying through. So be interesting to see how well he bounces back. We've got Kuba back, who's from Manchester, or Manchester. That's a great place. And then we've got S. Martin watching from New Zealand. New Zealand, a huge supporter of the DTM Trophy Series, when I've indeed been commentating on the DTM Trophy. There's so many people watching from New Zealand or from that hemisphere as well, actually from Australia as well. So yeah, shout out to the New Zealanders, to the Kiwis, as we have now got 1 minute left to go. Well, this is a bit more difficult to predict, Connery, than we've had in race number 1 and race number 2. So with 1 minute to go, I want you to give me 3 drivers to watch out for.
Keithy with a good start. I think there's not many people that will be able to surpass him. If he gets stuck, if he has a poor start and gets stuck in traffic, then that's a completely different situation. Again, I think I picked Högfeldt for one of the heats that he was in, but Högfeldt as well. I do think that he can turn up and do something special. We saw glimpses of it through 2021 with some of the Race Room Esports competitions he was taking part in there. And, well, Payich also has a lot to prove here today as well. He's got to get that Heat 1 instant out of his head right now and focus on what's to come and bring home the goods.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's 3 amazing drivers, but I'll tell you what, there's 26 of them on this grid, or 24 I think have made it to the session. Anybody of those 24 before qualifying started for me could have got themselves into that top 4. But yeah, for me it's all about Pajic. Can Pajic right the wrongs from the first race? He should have got through easily in second position, maybe even in first spot, if he didn't make that mistake on the final lap on the exit of turn number 1. That will be playing in his mind every single lap, that's for sure. Me mentioning it over and over again is not ideal either. But, you know, that ultimately was what cost him to go through. It was the biggest story we've had so far today. But the beauty of this competition, especially on qualifying day number 1, is the fact that he has the chance to rectify it right now. 50 seconds left then of our qualifying day number 1. Super pumped to see how this goes down. I think what you said earlier on, Connery, is absolutely spot on. This is a race where chances are going to be taken.
They'll be taken on the first lap as well, that's for sure. We've had 2 pretty clean starts so far. Let's make it 3 from 3, but a lot rides on this race. A lot of stress that can be avoided from doing a second shootout race. Well, you can get it done here now and you don't have to worry about it, but it's easier said than done.
Certainly is. Just waiting for one more car then to head onto the grid. Here we go. It is race time. It is indeed Pajic and Keithley on the front row. Historically today, P2 has got into the lead both races in a row. As we see the red lights on our screen, waiting for those green lights to appear. And we are green light racing, ladies and gentlemen, the last chance qualifier. And I tell you what, I think again here, P2 has got a phenomenal start. Pajic, though, going across to defend that position as soon as they possibly can. And will indeed end up having that inside line. Keithley not going to be able to find, oh, he is. No, he is going to be able to find a little bit of a gap here, runs out wide, has to leave the room for Pajic to come back on the circuit here, but Keithley from P2, which has been the best position to start from race number 1 and race number 2. Isaac Price, by the way, up into P3 then from, well, P3 actually started there, didn't he? Dorneyden on the inside here has to indeed just try and hold on to that top 4. Price, though, is up the inside here of Pajic, so Pajic under some severe pressure. The BMW is going to get up into that position. Top line speed here, the acceleration is going to get him out of jail as well, and it is Keithley that leads here. You said this was going to happen. If he gets a good start, it's going to become impossible to try and overtake him. He's got himself a lovely little gap here. Dorneyden under some severe pressure. Ottaviani into that top 4. Surprise driver of the day, up into a qualifying position. A long way to go here, but get yourself there early, and then it's all in your own hands. Great start from these drivers.
Dorneyden is at risk of falling a little bit further back here, as well as Rudinger has been able to find his way down the inside at Dunlop. It's now going to be a sprint race up the hill in towards the Michael Schumacher S's. Who's going to back out? I think Rudinger backed out a little bit more and allows Dorneyden to slide in ahead of him. Here comes Högfeldt as well, looking to try and improve positions. He's in P7 at the moment. This is a battle for P5, a titanic battle for P5, as there's Rudinger attempting to go around the outside. Oh, they all get a bit out of shape coming off the corner. Again, cold tires here on the first lap of things. Högfeldt looking to try and get a line as well, coming down the hill through the Hudson back and then back up the hill towards the NGK chicane. This one's still not done.
Absolutely not. This is still going on in towards the dying embers of lap number 1, and we'll surely go on to lap number 2. Through that final chicane we go, and then Rudiger's just been completely squeezed there, as we've got now Högfeldt getting involved as well, and he's actually made the move then on Rudiger. We've also got an Audi potentially make a move on the AMG in the background here. Oh, there's contact. Oh, that isn't good. That's very scrappy indeed. Not too sure exactly who that was. Pinches then is indeed falling backwards here. I think it might have been Markovic. So Markovic then, P11, has made a bit of a scrappy move there, trying to make a dive up the inside. And actually, was it not? It might have been Wiesenmuller, to be honest with you. I think it was. It definitely was there. Singing his praises earlier on, I think that was a little bit too aggressive, in my opinion, there. But he is going to hold on to that. Well, it's up to P9 now. He makes another dive, doesn't he? There for P9. Gets the job done as well. But yeah, very scrappy there at the end of the lap. It's not done at all, though, is it? It's still side by side then between the two drivers. Wiesenmuller's just about got that inside line. Whitfoot, though, is probably going to be able to have the overlap. No, he's not. Wiesenmuller gets straight across there. It's 4, it's 5, it's 10 wide, it feels like now at times during this race. It is just frantic stuff throughout the field. And meanwhile, while these drivers are battling for position, the front 8 are now getting away, as it seems. And actually, it's the front 4 really have got a nice little gap here. So Dorneyden was battling with Högfeldt and Rudinger. Rudinger loses out, goes down to P7, which means that Ottaviani, who made a hellacious late last-minute lunge to get up to P4. He's now consolidated that perfectly, but this is still going on here. This is for P10, and of course they've got to get it done this time, Connery. There's no time in waiting here. You've got to get to that top 4. This is the last opportunity.
That was also Markovic just sticking it down the inside there at Dunlop Hairpin on 2 drivers and getting him passed down on both of them as well. That's a fantastic move there from the driver from Montenegro. Fantastic stuff indeed. It seems like the mid-pack are giving us a show at the moment here, Luke, as we have a little look further up the order. Rudinger and Nagy are looking pretty close at this stage as well. Nagy just showing the nose down in towards the NGK chicane. No commitment to the move whatsoever, though, as we have to return to this mid-pack right now because Mihai Neg is now trying to fight with Martin Barner coming through the NGK chicane, and they're leaning on each other at the moment here. Barner has to cut his losses, but behind, Pincers just sends one on Lapnik.
Yeah, he's come through as well there, so taking full advantage of 2 drivers in front, battling, and ultimately that is the price you pay. You want to gain a spot, but if you don't get it done, unfortunately, you're going to be under pressure from drivers in behind, especially at this early stage of the race. And actually, the whole field separated by about 13 seconds. Not one driver's binned it as of yet. Oh, no way if I just said that. That happens. Unreal. Unbelievable. Pinches gets tagged from behind, and there's 2 drivers facing the wrong way. Why do I open my mouth, ladies and gentlemen? And well, we've gone from nobody's binned it to 3 of them.
Yeah, that was Carten and Lorenz that were also involved in that one. I think you've got to go on the naughty step here, Luke. You've been a very bad commentator with the cursing of drivers. So maybe you'll get to see a few of those drivers knock on your door in a little bit. But maybe we'll...
I know that Max is watching right now from DTM, and he is chopping that up as we speak for social media. There's no way that isn't making it anywhere. I cannot believe that within a second of me saying that, there's cars facing the wrong way. Unbelievable. The lead, though, let's head up to the front drivers here. Keithley, indeed, Isaac Price, P2 now, of course, from that early exchange. Pajic, who's going to be so sore from what happened in race number 1 mentally, is, he was right at the front. He's dropped down a couple of positions here. He's going to be a little bit angry with that, but it's just about just keep yourself in that top 4, just qualify. It turns a bad day into a pretty good day at the end. It doesn't really matter. P4 in this race right now means exactly the same as P1 from race 2 and race 1. It's as simple as that. It all makes complete sense in terms of just getting yourself qualified. So, yeah, nurse the wound, take your medicine, get yourself qualified. Wiesenmuller then having the best of exits there out of the final chicane towards that final corner. You see that Markovic, who, again, has put on a hell of a show here in the first 6 minutes of this race, he is ready and waiting and wanting to put on more of a show for us, and I absolutely welcome it. I've bought my ticket. I want to see a show.
Let's see if Markovic has the audacity to send it down the inside of turn number 1, and he does. Looking to try and grab that position away from Robert Wiesenmuller. Wiesenmuller will keep him behind for now. Fantastic little, defense coming off the corner for the head of esports for Race Room, as we see Markovic. He's going to have another bite of the cherry at some point here, just a matter of when. Wittvoet behind, also on the outside looking in with Mihai Neg and the McLaren further back as well. So it's all stacked up behind Wiesenmuller here a little bit for P number 9. But yeah, I'm certainly all here for it. I love watching these guys fight, and Markovic is going to have another attempt, potentially coming off the corner here down in towards Dunlop. He might get a run of speed with the draft, but maybe a little bit too far back.
Yeah, it was great stuff there from Wiesenmuller, actually defending the advancements of Markovic. There was no way he was going to let him grab that position from him. The front 3, though, still 1.6 seconds separating them. We've got Ottaviana, P4, in a very nice position as well. Surprise of the day for me. Gornidon now 1.5 seconds adrift of that lead group, as we're still on board here with Wiesenmuller. This is frantic stuff here. Markovic, again, needs to do something here as well, doesn't he? It's not a case of, we're just in that top in sort of 19, 20 positions that qualify through to the next race. This is it. If you can't get past Wiesenmuller to get up into P9, you're going to struggle to get up to top 4, that's for sure. And at this stage, if you're battling like this, you're not really going to work together and get up to them together either. I'll tell you what, though, is he got the overlap here. He does. Wiesenmuller tries to close that door. He closes the door perfectly well. In all fairness there, maybe a little bit of contact, but what do you expect through such a tight chicane? It's a very difficult place to make an overtake, and you see exactly why there, because it gives all of the advantage really to the car in front, effectively, if they position their car in a perfect position. Even further back as well. I think we got Neg there trying to defend from an Audi as well. Barna trying to make a move here. Markovic still trying to get one up here on Wiesenmüller. Wiesenmüller not letting it happen as well, and actually squeezes Markovic there to be on the absolute limit of the tyres, which is giving Wiesenmüller maybe a 1/10 of a second breathing room, which is, wow, it feels like maybe 30 seconds at this stage how close they've been. Jan Stanger then has just got ahead, actually, of, who did he get ahead of? It was P15 there. Yeah, he did. He got ahead of P15, moves up one position. We saw that as he went down towards turn number 1. Phenomenal stuff. It's just action everywhere here. I was expecting it to be a really scrappy affair, to be honest with you, Connery. I didn't think we were going to see much Class racing or Class A racing. I thought it was going to be more Class F racing, if I'm honest. But this has been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I think for these guys, they've realised they're about 8 seconds adrift already of the top 4. So it's great just to have a little bit of a scrap amongst yourselves. Yes, of course, there's an element of you never know what might happen to the top 4. They might all have problems, and lots of people get promoted. But yeah, I think these guys are just having a lot of fun right now on the broadcast, of course, and in a what is an official DTM race. You don't get to say that every day. You got to race in something to do with DTM, but yeah, it's fantastic to see these guys really enjoying the racing action out there. The fields are thinning out a little bit there. Not as much potential side-by-sides as we've become used to seeing over the last couple of laps, but either way, still this mid-pack all clumped up together. We will have a little bit of a recap of the race at the front of the race, though, because Keithley's got a 1.5 second gap over Price now, but Price hasn't been able to shake Pajic whatsoever. Notaviani's still in this too.
Yeah, but I think Price is going to be very happy that it's Pajic behind him. They all know each other. They've raced each other many a time. And similarly for Keithley, if Keithley was, close to Isaac Price again, never seen them in the same room. So I'm baffled that we've managed to get Keithley and Price racing in the same race. I'm sure it's the same person. But yeah, the fact that all 3 of them are known entities. They know that they're going to not try and push or take any chances in terms of making late lunges or late dives. Ottaviani's probably the one driver that's an unknown quantity. He's in a relatively comfortable position, 6/10 clear of Dorniden, although Dorniden was 1.5 seconds behind last time we checked. Dorniden is absolutely flying right now and closing up to the front here. Markovic still trying to find a gap here on Wiesenmüller. Wiesenmüller is going to get out of his sim rig and just sleep. He is going to be so tired with the amount of defensive duty he's had to put on today, as we are on board here with Michal Negu. Again, we've seen it so often today. You try and make a move and don't get it stuck, you end up, more than likely losing a position from someone from behind. There's no way you go through the Schumacher S's side-by-side, is there? No, there isn't. Indeed, Petter Daniel has to back out of that position, which indeed gives Neg the P14. Jan Stanger is P13 and Barna is in P12. Again, at this stage, you've got maybe your friends and family watching. It is about putting on a show. If you're in this position, you're not going to get into a top 4. If this was maybe a ranked server potentially, or maybe just an open lobby, you might expect there to be like a massive crash at the front potentially, and you could maybe gain those positions to get top 4. This is the best of the best. I think they're all experienced enough to know now that their chances of getting to that top 4 is pretty much done. But it doesn't matter. You still got to put on a show, showcase your skill set. Your name's getting called out. Show people what you are capable of, because there is another opportunity in a couple of weeks. And I have to reiterate that to everybody watching at home. Get involved on Racer and try and qualify to get to qualifying day number 2, and then you get to indeed our official championship. Wiesenmüller making that Audi as wide as he possibly can. He's almost making it as wide as an Audi people carrier at this stage. Brilliant stuff here from the German. Markovic just not able to find that spot at all.
Yeah, and he might be able to find a gap here as Markovic, though. He might be able to take this wide swing into turn 4 to get the speed off the corner. He's got a good run of momentum there, but can he make anything happen into turn 5? Wiesenmüller going to go defensive here as Markovic is forced to go the long way around. He has an overlap. There might have been a bit of contact between the two there, and now Wittvoet's looking to try and get himself involved somehow in this one. He stuck his nose in, but unsuccessful. But that was a big attempt from Markovic to try and get by.
This sums up DTM 2021. The way these drivers are driving, DTM 2021 was like watching a British touring car race from the mid-90s. It was so frantic, it was so close. It's not something you necessarily associate with GT cars. This is literally like watching DTM for every week last season. It was absolutely incredible. They're so close. They're giving it absolutely everything. I think the biggest story right now, though, is, and it's a bit of a bigger gap, but it's Dorniden. Dorniden is absolutely closing in on Ottaviani here for that final qualifying position. So definitely worth watching out for here. The Italian under some severe pressure. Hoogveld has to be very, very clever here. With 16 minutes, 30 seconds to go, you do not try and make a move here on Dorniden. You know you've been watching for lap in, lap out. The AMG, Ottaviani in all sorts of trouble here. It's a terrible exit actually out the final corner. And is he close enough? No, he's not. So you can see Dorniden here in the Sophia Flourish car here in the DTM. Not quite close enough to make the moves as of yet. But again, Hoogveld is the key really in this battle as Dorniden runs ever so slightly wide here. He knows that Dorniden's been catching up to that P4 battle. He's got to let him continue to do that and then get spicy with it. He then needs to be that added ingredient for this three-way battle. But if he goes too early, if he tries to make a move on Dorniden too early here, he could then indeed isolate Ottaviani. Ottaviani could go off into the distance, and then they're under pressure from then Rudinger, who's just in behind, and Nagy as well. So you need to be you need to race clever at this stage. I know it's tough for these drivers to indeed differentiate, trying to make an overtake and when to hold back, but this is the difference between being top level and being extremely top level.
It really is, and there are very, very few drivers that can keep their cool in this sort of situation. Yes, of course, as I've reiterated many times throughout this broadcast, there's going to be another attempt for them in a couple of weeks to get themselves qualified, yes, but you do not want the stress of that. You do not want the pressure of having to basically get it at the very last moment. You want to do it as early as possible.
But they know the calendar, Connery. That's the thing. They know the calendar for the season.
Yeah.
So, a couple of weeks practice added on to, for week number one, if you get through today, is massive. Like, I think, something we will talk about, Connery. We're going to be here for the whole championship, right? So we will be able to discuss this. We will see the difference between, especially in the first couple of weeks, the drivers from the first week and the second week. I think you'll find that, if you qualify in the first week, you've got more time to prepare. You have a huge advantage moving forward. So I think that's got to be the biggest factor here. You've got to try and get it done today. You can't rest on your laurels. And also, the qualifying phase might be, for qualifying day number 2, might not be a track you even like. So again, you put it up even more to chance. So right now, your opportunity's here. But again, you've got to race clever. It looks like Ottaviani, who was being caught for sure. Oh, that's a big mistake there by Dorniden. And now Hoogveld. Again, if the opportunity presents itself and the door opens widely for Hoogveld, you've got to take the opportunity, of course. But don't try and force something that potentially is going to bring another car into play here, which, to be fair, has already happened. But ultimately, that you also give your own opportunity a way of getting to that top four.
Yeah, and Ottaviani's not on the pace at all of the top 3 cars. He did a 155.3 that last time by, as the top 3 were all within the 154 mark. So yeah, starting to stack up a little bit behind Ottaviani here, and Noel Dorniden. He knows exactly what the situation is, but now it's not just Hoogveld that's also involved. We're starting to get Rudinger also lock onto the back of this train as well. So the longer this goes, the more participants, the more third parties get themselves involved, the higher the risk for everyone involved in this situation. So it's very interesting to see how this has developed over the course of the last couple of laps. You can see Hoogveld just trying to explore the extremities of the track limits, I think, is probably the best way I could use to describe that. Almost out into the gravel through the Michael Schumacher S's, but, well, that's just what you have to do sometimes to try and keep pace with some of the fastest drivers on Race Room.
And that is exactly right. These are the fastest drivers on Race Room. All of these drivers are going to know each other as well. They've raced against each other. They know that if they make a mistake, it's going to be magnified tenfold because the driver behind them is going to punish them. It's as simple as that. It's not a case of there's any gimmies. There's no mugs here. It is just the peak of competition, the peak of pace. So yeah, you make a mistake here, you are absolutely done for. And Dorniden got really, really close to Ottaviani. And I'm just wondering now, has Ottaviani played a very clever game here in the regards of the AMGs for sure today have been the worst in terms of their tyres on the final couple of laps. Has he driven with it? Has he got the job done early, first and foremost? Qualified outside the top 4, didn't he? So he's got himself into the top 4 early in this race. Has he just settled back and gone, look, I need to be able to defend at the end of this race. The car behind me is not in the same car as me, so they're more than likely going to be in a better shape if they can keep themselves in the long game. Has he now, played that ace card and gone, I've got some tyres left here. I'm in a great spot to defend from this position, because it does to me look like he's being able to just drive away ever so slightly. Minimal gains, but at this level, maximum reward.
That would make a lot of sense, especially if he's learnt from the heat race that he was in, and of course looked at the heat race that he wasn't in. It was always the tyres starting to become an issue for the Mercedes. So if like you said, if he's taken the initiative in the early portions of this race and has caused this sort of deliberate backup, so to speak, just getting himself about over 2 seconds behind Pajic, who's in P3 at the moment, just to save a little bit of tyres, just to make sure that he has that life in at the end of the race, and he's able to fend off the Audi from behind, then it might be a genius of a strategy call for Ottaviani, in a race where there's no pit stops, where you don't really have a lot to do with regards to strategy.
No, you've got to do it on circuit, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've got to take that opportunity. And, at this stage, I've been saying about Hoogveld, you need to be patient. I think his time's gone. If I'm honest, I think it's Rudiger now. And Rudiger, at this stage of the race, has to make an overtake here. So, you can't expect Rudiger to be boxing clever. So Hoogveld's going to be expecting to lose time very, very shortly. The Audi now is coming back here at Ottaviani. So we expect it to go down at some point. As we've seen in the previous 2 races, there is going to be some frantic action at some point. Otherwise you don't qualify if you're in P5 right now. And Dorniden will be calculated with it, although we did see him for the first time in my experience of commentating on him be very, very aggressive earlier on today. So I think he's probably not going to be pulling any punches. But yeah, Ottaviani, it's a mistake. That's a big mistake, actually. Again, once you get caught out on the high side there of turn number 2, you're off camber and you will just continue to keep going. And ultimately, trying to rectify that mistake is just going to cost you in terms of tyre temperature. So probably overheating right now. So this might be the key lap here, although figures it out beautifully well there out of turn number 4. So Ottaviani, who's done a sensational job there of rectifying what could have been a huge mistake here. But Dorniden has to be looking here and thinking, I have an opportunity. How patient do you be in this situation, Connery? He's got to take it on sooner rather than later, or do you leave it to the last couple of laps? Do you chance it at this stage?
I don't know. It's impossible to tell, of course. These drivers, they all have their own tendencies. They all have their own ways of approaching these sorts of races. Some of them very calm under pressure. Some of them, they get the red mist descends very, very quickly, and they drive beyond their limits. And, any one of those 2 situations can happen here in the final 10 minutes. Of course, these drivers quite experienced here in Race Room Esports in these sorts of situations, But yeah, I certainly don't know which way this one's going to go for the moment. Ottaviani's done a good job to hold on to that position for now, but, Dorniden has looked quick, but he's made some mistakes here and there. Hoogveld has been, either within a couple of tenths of a second or within 8 tenths of a second, sort of yo-yoing off the back of this battle. I'm not sure what's going to happen here in the final, 9 minutes of this race as we head our way across the line. And we've got some battling going on further back, because, by the way, Wiesenmuller still has Markovic behind him.
Oh, wow.
That hasn't changed.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. He is he's almost holding up the whole field right now. There's a saying, cork in a bottle, but this is just absolutely crazy. Fair play to Wiesenmuller. He has done a hell of a job here. Again, he will be sweating bullets, and of course it's cost them all a chance of getting into that top 4, but in terms of putting on a show and showcasing defensive ability, defensive attributes, Wiesenmuller is right up there at the very top of his game. Again, using that left-hander and using that curb to deep rotate the car. But this is the battle then. This is the bubble position. 8 minutes to go. And we're saying, well, I was saying, should I say, Hoogveld looked like he was done and dusted. But in that last lap, it was a very, very good lap indeed. He has closed that gap then to these two. Dorniden is as close as he has been throughout the entirety of this race. And it becomes now Italy versus Germany versus Sweden versus another German here, because you cannot write Rudiger out here, because if these three have a little bit of a coming together, he's going to close right up and take full advantage. But yeah, definitely in the worst position out of these three. Front three, by the way, have closed right up. So Keithley has gone out very early here, and again, it's the AMG, isn't it? The AMG is struggling in terms of grip, and wow, how much have you given away here? Because the gap's come down hugely, and does this bring into play potentially the battle for P4? or has Keithley got enough here? He's got to take solace from the fact that the two behind him are very experienced drivers, but if he's off the pace by half a second to a second, they're going to have to make an overtake here because they do not want to get into the clutches of that group of four behind. As much as it's only a few laps to go, it's still 7 minutes. That's a long, long time. So all of a sudden, Keithley under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, Dorneden is going to be pretty close coming off the final corner this time around. This is his best opportunity, at least from the last couple of laps, to be able to do anything about Ottaviani. Ottaviani's going to go very early to the defense, the inside of turn number 1, as Dorneden is going to try for the switchback here, Luke. But Ottaviani's got it covered for now. Has to still be defensive into turn 2, but Ottaviani still ahead.
Yeah, he is still ahead there. Dorneden not able to make that move. Oh, Hoogveld goes for it then. The drive up the inside here. Opportunity did indeed knock. He opens the door. Dorneden then closes that door. I wouldn't say close, he slams that door. Brilliant from both of them. Very aggressive from Hoogveld. And Dorneden, that was very classy from him because he could have quite easily have lost out there. The contact that they had, quite easily the race could have been over for him as well. It's almost like he sat in his car and he's just gone, and breathe, I'm good. I've done this 1,000 times before, and all of a sudden, Hoogveld is just completely fallen off the pace here. He's dropped massively back here, and now Rudinger with an opportunity, and Nagy as well. This is brilliant, actually, for the battle for P4. So Dorneden now is just solely looking forward. So, yeah, he indeed nearly lost that position, but calculated himself. Alexander Dorneden, take a bow. That was incredible stuff there. I think many drivers would have lost that position. He didn't, and now he's got to try and make something work in the last 5 minutes here. Ottaviani, his tyres are shot here, ladies and gentlemen. Can Dorneden take full advantage? Dorneden's surely shown his defensive credentials at being at his very best. Now it's about how good is he at attacking. Front 3, by the way, you just saw them there in the foreground. They are super, super close, and you don't want to be taking any chances if you're those 3 because you will just give an opportunity. Someone who's already done that today, Pajic. Remember that? There was a battle for P5 and P6, and there's only going to be one of those drivers going through. Ultimately, Pajic made a mistake from P1, and he gifted both the opportunity of going through. That's why Pajic is in this race at all. So, yeah, how much has he learned from that? Is he going to attack Price? Don't think he should, but will he? Who knows?
The sensible option for the front 3 would just be to leave it as it is. You know,
but they're sim racers, Connery. They don't know what sensible means.
I know. I was about to touch on that as well, but you know, the racing driver in them says, "Go for the race win. Go for the race win. You know, just go for the race win." And you just need to control that urge.
Yeah, that's a tough one to do though. As I think Wiesenmüller has. Oh, no, no, there he is. P9. Sorry, Wiesenmüller's all good. He's still in P9. I think that Wiesenmüller's got P9 tattooed on his chest at this point. It belongs to him that much. And actually, for the first time, there's contact there between Luciano Wittwert, the ballast. There's a spin there as well for the Audi. That is not good. It's Jan Stanger, who's now off into the grass here. Again, chances to get into that top 4 were very minimal anyway. But it would have been nice for them to have stayed in that battle. It's not going to work out. So it really is all about P4 and P5. That's the battle we've just got to focus on now for the next 3.5 minutes. Can Dorneden chase down this AMG? It is as simple as that. In race terms, whoever comes out on top between these two will advance to the next stage. And Ottaviani again is just showing, as Markovic is off there, it's a DNF then for the Montenegrinese driver. And actually, fair play to him. Not the way you want to bow out, but has just put on a hell of a show today. Taken chances, taken on overtakes when, other drivers potentially haven't done. So, yeah, it's a shame to see Markovic retiring from this race, but I'm sure we're going to see him back over the next couple of weeks and potentially qualifying through to our final grid. As it stands, though, it is indeed 2 laps remaining of this race. Keithley leads the way. Isaac Price is in 2nd spot, and we got Marco Pajic in 3rd. Ottaviani, new to the scene. Dorneden, an absolute staple of the Race Room Esports. And Ottaviani, right now, is absolutely keeping Dorneden out of that final grid. So can Ottaviani do the job here for Italy? Can he keep hold of this P4 again? It's been ebbing and flowing. Every so often, Ottaviani just struggled for a couple of laps where the tyres look like they've completely gone off, but then finds something extra. Dorneden has a couple of laps where he closes right up to the back then for that P4 and then makes a little bit of a mistake. Something has to give here, Connery, and I have no idea what it's going to be.
Your guess is as good as mine here, Luke. This is potentially going to be a grandstand finish between these two. Dorniden still not quite close enough to be able to make anything happen just yet. It might have to be a last moment, last lap sort of thing, unless there's a mistake from Ottaviani here. He nails the traction coming off of Dunlop, so he's not going to have a problem there, but we know that the application of the power has been an issue for Mercedes cars up and down the field at the ends of these races. Has Ottaviani done enough to try and save the rear tyres in the opening portions of the race to have some life in them now?
I know, and that's been really the defining factor for a lot of these drivers, you know, none more so than Payet, who's currently in P3, was leading out in race number 1, and yeah, just made an absolute mess of the exit of turn number 1, spun the car completely around. He finished P7. So from the lead on the final lap to P7, he will not be wanting to do that again. I'd be very surprised if you see anything other than these three in exactly the same formation and exactly the same picture in 1 lap's time. Jack Keithley leads out here, had a 2-second advantage at one point, but ultimately has been caught again. AMG just seems to be struggling in terms of the tyre wear, but has been overall the best car on the grid for sure. We got Isaac Price in 2nd position in the BMW, just trying his level best to hold on to that P2. And we've got Payet in P3. They've got about a 3.2-second advantage over this group here. These two drivers. Alexander Dorniden has 1 lap remaining here to close up. Is it a possibility, using lots of curb there on the exit of turn number 2? Getting nice and tight to the apex there, even more so than his Italian rival, just 1 position ahead. But again, Ottaviani is sticking to his guns, still keeping that advantage to around about half a second. Through turn number 5, they will come. Switching left then to indeed take the right hander, which is turn number 6. Dorniden also on the absolute limit of the car there. You see the car sliding on entry, down the hill, the long run then down in towards the hairpin. Again, one of the last opportunities really for Dorniden to be on the power early on the exit. You can see that Ottaviani running a little bit wide there. Might be actually an intended line. We've seen a few drivers do that, but on the power early, yes. Perfectly executed once again. Up towards the Schumacher S as we come. Dorniden able to take a little bit more curb, able to apply the car a little bit more on entry into corners here. And Ottaviani just merely a sector of the circuit to go to book his ticket through to our DTM ESPORTS 2022 through the right-hander. There's no real harsh braking zones, but you can see the car snaking on entry and on exit. Dorniden closing that gap then as they come up through the kink up towards that final chicane. 3 corners to go here, and without any mistakes, Ottaviani will be booking his ticket through. Comes up towards that final chicane, grabs a bit of curb on entry. It's a poor exit here. Dorniden has closed up here. He has to force the Italian defensively. Dorniden takes the wide entrance through the corner. And what about your exit here? Are you going to finally get this done as a drag race? Ottaviani's done enough. Alessandro Ottaviani, the surprise of the day for me, has booked his ticket through to our final grid. Congratulations to him. Dorniden threw everything at him. It wasn't quite enough. The front 3 were Keithley. It was indeed Isaac Price and Payet, and Ottaviani in P4. Dorniden putting on a hell of a show, but it just wasn't quite good enough. What a race, what a day, what a qualifying session for half of our grid moving forward in this championship.
The tyres just about got there, didn't they, for Ottaviani? I don't think he could have took 1 more lap of that. He was sliding about all over the place in that final lap, especially into the chicane, and of course coming through that final corner as well. But it's not long enough of a run down in towards the start-finish line for Dorniden to do anything about that. Ottaviani is your final qualifier from today.
0.6 of a second then was the gap between P1, P2, P3. Keithley, Price, Payet. Those 3 are going to be booking their ticket to the DTM ESPORTS 2022 final grid for our 6-round championship. And Ottaviani, again, driver for TX3, one of the more well-known teams within the sim racing world and indeed race room, does indeed make it through. Again, a new name to me personally, maybe not a surprise to many people out there, but for me, surprise of the day, absolutely spot on, and showed a lot more pace in race number 3 than they did in race number 2, to be completely honest. That's why it's such a surprise to me, and it's like a driver that's just got better and better. And you know, in a championship where it's 6 rounds, Connery, could be a driver to watch out for. And this, if they can continue to improve, you know, not necessarily having a glass ceiling, they can burst through that. They've got, you know, much more wiggle room to work with. Definitely someone to watch out for.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an incredible performance from Ottaviani, and well, I think my confidence was well placed in him. It seemed like at the end of that event. So a fantastic job from the Italian. Here's a recap, by the way, of the tracks that we're heading to during the main season. Of course, it starts in February the 24th. We start at Imola, and then we go all the way through all the different tracks until we finish off at Portimao on the 28th of April. But we've gotten half of our DTM Esports 2022 grid now. That's it. We've got another shootout event coming up in a handful of weeks' time here, Luke. And well, if the racing in this one's anything to go by.
Yeah, well, these 14 drivers have got it done. They've not got to worry about in 2 weeks' time. We're going to be back and we're going to be doing exactly the same once again to indeed find out who is going to be on our DTM Esports 2022 grid. So they're all good. They've booked their tickets through an incredible 3 races. 5 drivers from race 1, 5 drivers from race 2, and then on our last chance qualifier, we had 4 drivers making it through to our 28 grid final, where so 14 of them have made it. Connery, what an incredible day. We get to do it again all in 2 weeks' time. But, if today is anything to go by, we are in for an incredible few months.
Yeah, I think so too. We got a week's break between now and the next race, and I don't know what we're going to fill the time with, to be honest, because I'm certainly looking forward to it. Of course, we'll see some of the same names that didn't qualify here today. They'll still be able to take part in the leaderboard. They'll still be able to try and get themselves in with a shot in that shootout. And of course, we'll see a bunch of new names as well. We've got, other drivers that could potentially come to the forefront there in 2 weeks' time. So, we've got half of the grid already, like we said, but the other half of the grid could potentially be pretty potent as well as drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. With qualifying day 2 being in 2 weeks' time, it's the final opportunity. We're going to see more chances taken. Again, like you said, we're going to probably see we're definitely going to see some new names. We're going to see some of the same names as well that maybe didn't quite make it through to today. But yeah, what an incredible day's racing. We are done and dusted here for the DTM Esports 2022 qualifying day number 1. We're back in 2 weeks. Thank you for joining us at home. Cannot wait to see you next time. Until next time, see you then.